Hi, hello. Before we start, I just want to say this video is long, like very long. If you want to see me talk about any of your favorite games or community members in particular, there are timestamps below in the description. Thanks. Alright, here we go. Sonic is cool. That's his job. In an era of family-friendly mascots and cheery platformers, Sonic was there to be everything they couldn't. Fast, slick, and he's got the tood. He's Six Flags, not Disneyland. He's meant to rock your socks off, launch you into a new era, and look cool doing it, because that's his job. I think that's the main design philosophy with every mutated, slinky iteration of Sonic T. Hedgehog. He must be cool. If he's driving a car, he's cool. If he's holding a sword, he's cool. It's even cool when he's dead. You can't stop this guy. And if your brain is developing at a young age, then you want to be Sonic. Follow him. Admire him. Breathe his same air. You want to be friends with Sonic. That's because you are Tails. Don't worry, we all have our Tawakening at some point. You see that blue circle slipping across the screen, and suddenly he's your favorite thing in the world. My Tawakening happened in the early 2000s, and it grew and waned over the years, taking nosedives and surprising jumps. I've had a funny and probably familiar history with Sonic T. Hedgehog, and using my crappy little drawings today, I'd like to take you through it now, see if any of it matches up with yours. I was originally going to do a big academic retrospective, but I figured making it personal would be a little more interesting. I'm getting older now, so I wanted to compile everything that I could remember before I turned to dust. And by that I mean get to 30, which is like 100 in internet years. So, what is this massive video going to be? Well, this video is going to be a lot of things. First, it's a timeline of my career with the Sonic franchise. I'll be analyzing the games I played, the characters I remember, how I felt before, and what I find now. But not just that, we'll be looking at Sonic movies, TV shows, toys, comics, even fan-created content, from dubs, SFMs, DeviantART pages, and even fanfiction. We'll see the Sonic things I've created in the past, and even the ones I'm working on now. Everything Sonic-related that has ever graced my life will be presented, in chronological order, through stories, analysis, and opinion. There's even a section on here about the plushies, man. We're going that uncomfortably deep. But first, a couple of ground rules. Number 1, your opinions are valid. Listen, I've been on here since 2005. I've seen the absolute vitriol and scathing hostility that can come from talking about this little blue guy. I by no means want to start a fight with you, or tell you your feelings are wrong. If anything, I want to hear them. This is a safe space, friend. If Sonic 06 is your favorite Sonic game, then please tell me why. I am not looking for some angry defense here. I want to hear your genuine passion. Tell me why you love it. I believe you, random stranger. And on the flip side, if I say something a little nutty, just remember that nothing is set in stone. I am not claiming truth, and these are just my feelings at the current time in 2024. Anything can change, right? Number 2, there will be gaps. As much as I love it, it certainly hasn't been ever present in my life. There were times where I skipped games and swore off hedgehogs for good. And hey, if some of your favorites are the ones I missed, you can let me know too. Maybe that'll invigorate me to go give them a shot. I trust you, random viewer. Anyways, you will notice them in the middle, and maybe someday I'll be able to fill them in. Fingers crossed. Number 3, any fan content I do bring up, I will link below. I'll try and link to their original works if they're still up, and if these creators have changed handles, I'll be linking to their current name. These people are all great, so go show them some love. And finally, 4, there are no rules, yada yada. Let's get on with it. So, let's kick off this massive look through the main man's past with the spot where I was introduced to him way back when. During... I didn't own this. We were barred from video game consoles growing up, besides maybe one Game Boy Color that my brother played and I watched. I did a lot of that growing up, watching other people play their games, especially my cousins, who were able to get the Sega Dreamcast. And of course, you know what that came with.
Oh, trigger.
Just kidding, it's Sonic Adventure. I must have been 5 or 6 when I first laid eyes on Sonic and his adventure. Talk about a prime time for Sonic Mania. His job was to be cool, and it worked. I honestly think this was one of the first video games I ever, saw, besides Itty Bitty Mario on the Game Boy, or the screaming Soviets being fried alive in Red Alert on the computer. But this was on the TV, and it was 3D. My memories of this game are honestly scattered, since I was so young, but I specifically remember the large cast of characters, the exploration of 3D environments, and that big ol' whale. I replayed this recently, and I kind of realized this. Sonic is a great game for young ages because it doesn't take much besides moving the left stick to start having a blast. You just need to direct him down the main course. There's even dash panels that'll help carry you through more cinematic set pieces, like loops or whale carnage. That's why a lot of us who were handed the controller for this guy probably connected with it pretty quick. Just make him go fast and you're already winning. Good job. But let's talk about SA1 in particular. Boy, what a weird game. And I say that with love. It feels risky and experimental. And I give it kudos for attempting so many things that became mainstays for the franchise later. The modern setting felt like the goalpost on this one, especially with Sonic starting off in a busy cityscape, with humans and guns in the first scene. The first fight with Chaos is a good appetizer for the rest of the game. It sets off the man vs. nature motif we see as the game progresses. Just look at Final Egg invading the Mystic Ruins. That's the other new slant they took here. A lot of the environments feel aggressively naturalistic. There are no green hills or marble gardens here. Instead, you race through nature. Ice caps, sand hills, even Mystic Ruins feels a bit too realistic for the character models. I can see this also being a showcase for the Dreamcast hardware, and even more of an attempt to spirit Sonic into the modern age. Sonic is real now, folks. Watch out. But the story, the tale of Sonic's adventure, it can be a bit scattered, especially with the multiple plot lines, and it does evolve into a predictable place. I mean, they show you the last level in the intro cutscene. But the elements I love are the deeper dives into the Master Emerald mythos. Chaos, the god of destruction, and true protector of the Master Emerald, sorry Nux, is a good, unstoppable evil. Even Eggman has convictions, but Chaos is nature. You can't wisecrack a tsunami into submission. It is just here to drown. But we also have the inclusion of more Echidna lore. The flashback sequences here always piqued my interest as a child. A great way to expand the world of Sonic. Sonic wasn't always here. There were others, and they did some things, didn't they? Way to go, guys. Either way, get the emeralds, stop the naughty water, it's A to B. But thankfully, it's not all lore. We get character drama with our 6 main heroes. Most have loose arcs, which are not threaded well with the limited time we have with them. Honestly, a lot of the drama comes from the vibe. The script is what you would expect, but for most people, it got the job done. I think Sonic games will often paint a pretty broad picture of its cast, and then allow a lot of the accompanying media to fill in the gaps. If anything, their songs feature more characterization than the cutscenes here. I also want to briefly touch on some of the characters when they show up in this video. We'll save some of the big ones for later, but 2 of our friends are heavily featured in Sonic's adventure, the first being one of my favorites.
Preparation complete.
He doesn't mean to be bad.
I will comply. Gamma.
Must help friends.
You know, I always pronounced this as Y until I was old enough to drink. But no one corrected me, because who even is this guy? He's one of the best parts of Sonic Adventure, that's who. I felt like out of everyone in SA1, they went the farthest with Gamma. With Gamma, they explored a story often overlooked. Those little animals trapped inside every robot. From my understanding, Gamma the robot is his own being, with the Flicky inside powering him as a separate entity. But Gamma later becomes cognizant of the Flicky inside him, and all his brothers, and vows to free them. But the only way to do that is to, kill your entire family. The heel turn is great here, paired with darker moments like walking in on your brother getting disemboweled or having a crisis of faith while you stare down an itty-bitty bird. It also deepens the character and sacrifice of Gamma when you realize he's destroying himself and all his brothers to save the defenseless animals unjustifiably trapped inside of them. Gamma recognizes he is a weapon powered by servitude. He understands that his continued existence inhibits the life of another one, and vows to give those birds a chance by killing his family. He even marks himself down on his own hit list. That's just badass. Also, his design is super sick. I like his lankiness, his little wheelies, the ceiling fan on his butt, and that floating booster that just hovers endlessly behind him. It's not even connected to anything, it's just there. He's full-on Raymanning it. Also, shout out to a Sonic character who died and stayed dead. Props to you. But hell, I'd bring him back. I love robots. But, there's also another pretty big guy in this game who deserves a quick mention.
My name's Big. No problem. We better get going. You come here to fish too?
Big ol' cat. The butt of many jokes. And I don't have much of a defense for this guy. I think a lot of the love we have for Big is for the Big we see in our heads. A wise yet humble fisherman, in tune with nature, whose main objective is to vibe. But just from SA1, he feels purposely like a dope. His heroics are there, but every time he talks, I can't help but think the creators are trying to shove a giant dunce cap on his noggin. I later learned that even John St. John, the voice actor for Big, did not prefer this voice, so it seems like Big's characterization got twisted during SA1's development. I found him to be just kinda there. I'm sure he gets some fleshing out in games that I missed. There are some fun directions you can take Big, and I bet there are a lot of redeeming headcanons out there. But he's just kinda that guy to me. Doesn't mean I don't get hyped when I see him, though. He's kinda like Sonic's very own Bigfoot. You gotta run and grab a camera when you spot him in the background. Whoa! Oh shit! Look, over there! That's Big! He's still alive! Thank God. I thought he choked on that frog. Also, I hate his fishing game. Said they should have had him throw those cars in Station Square. Alright, let's finish up with Sonic's Adventure, because we got a lot to go through. Overall, this might be one of my favorite Sonic games, just from the sheer experimentation of it. I think some stages have aged well, others have not. The voice acting is a fantastic measure for the personality of these guys, but I get the feeling some things were lost in translation. Maybe the direction was lopsided or not enough takes were allowed for these actors to really fill in the characters' shoes. Thankfully, this gets patched up in future releases. But let's be honest here, these are all recent observations. As a child, the game was pristine, no cracks detected. I blew the story up in my head and ran around with any cutscene I could to play in the Sonic world. I think there's a tough argument for if it still holds up, but it definitely deserves to be played in the halls of Sonic history. Hell, even in the annals of gaming. One of my personal favorites. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite line?
All's well that ends well, right?
But that wasn't the only Dreamcast game on the horizon. Perched atop the mountain of cases was Sega Smash Pack Volume 1. A collection of classic Sega titles, combined with the worst sound chip known to man. Oh god, I'm sorry, I won't touch the emerald, just let me out! And this was where I learned of Sonic's origins in his original 16-bit adventure. This was insane. It looked like an arcade game. It was all blocking, and he wasn't talking. What did you do to his mouth? There was always a bit of whiplash when this was popped in, but boy did it intrigue me. I couldn't believe he was so old. This wasn't some Y2K Hot Topic nutcase. Sonic had actual history. I could only imagine what other games he would be in. How many actually were there? It just added more questions. Fun questions. When I would occasionally get the controller, I would make my way through Green Hill Zone, speed into Act 2, and then run into those spike pits, which is when the controller was taken away from me. But that didn't matter. The die had been cast, my core memories were recorded, and my new objective was to learn everything I could about Sonic the goddamn Hedgehog. I mean, if he came from this, how much else was there? Well, we can round out that past later. For now, we gotta finish up on our Dreamcast era.
Out, trigger.
Okay, I'll stop doing that. Well, here we go. Sonic Adventure 2, the game that knew its audience. This was a game of its time that ended up extending that time for over 20 years. The early 2000s Edge would never leave Sonic after this, and there was really no way back. He was modern now. I think where Adventure broadens the scope, Adventure 2 narrows it in. These are our characters, these are their levels, now play them, over and over again. And we did. Well, they did. I watched. But it was another Sonic movie on the big CRT screen, and I couldn't be happier. I replayed this recently, and I kinda realized this. I always forget Sega used to primarily make arcade games. They were huge in that space. They even had that giant multi-level arcade in Japan that I went to once, and is now gone forever. Why would they do that? But when I look at Sonic games now, I can really see it. Like, imagine a giant insert coin spinning around during City Escape. It fits way too well. These levels are meant to be played quickly, give you that shot of adrenaline in a short amount of time. If you take the scoring system into account, it really seals the deal. Once you start upgrading your playstyle and go gunning for those A ranks, I do feel like I'm standing at a cabinet, while some asshole older than me keeps pointing at every golden beetle I missed. Anyways, SA2. This time, the story was less about the world and more about the characters. The Earth was in peril, sure, but instead we saw a lot more interpersonal drama, with our cast hanging out and talking to each other. The cutscenes felt more active, and the battle between Hero and Dark was a healthy race to keep the pace moving. Our heroes were always just one step behind, and the villains had stories of their own this time. Speaking of dark story, this is one of the most sinister interpretations of Big Bad so far. Eggman is pretty damn evil in this one. I think this is the worst he's ever been. From blowing up half the moon to actually going through with killing Sonic, he's a real threat this time. And with his two little buddies in tow, it felt like Sonic could actually lose. Drumroll please, Shadow the Hedgehog makes his glorious debut, barking demands and smirking in every scene. I forgot how much Shadow smiles in this game. He's always twirling his hypothetical mustache and cooking off one-liners. Eggman should be proud. His overconfidence and playful insults with Sonic definitely make him feel young here. Future games turn him more stoic and all-powerful, but I do miss that sly little shit from his first appearance. Alright, now we're talking about Shadow. We might as well talk about Shadow.
I'm Shadow. We do look alike.
Thank you.
Maria, ultimate life form.
Their air shoes.
Project Shadow.
Die.
Damn.
Welcome to the Year of Shadow. When Shadow sprung up in that recent Generations trailer, I couldn't help but chuckle. He's just so perfect. Shadow literally is everyone's OC. He is a darker, cooler Sonic. When I replayed Sonic Adventure 2 and heard Shadow literally say the words, "I'm the coolest," my jaw dropped. Not, "behold my power," or "gaze upon the ultimate." Just literally, I am the coolest. That's why I chuckle at Shadow. He is just personified teenage edge, with no shame. And that's not a bad thing. Years ago, my chuckle was at his expense. This Hot Topic poster boy with red eyeliner and frosted tips. But now, it's earnest excitement. Like, I genuinely like Shadow. Anytime he shows up, I get giddy. Like, oh shit, it's the cool guy! A lot of people enjoy Shadow's dark and broody persona ironically, but I think deep down they know, yeah, this guy's kinda sick. I imagine this switcheroo has happened with a lot of millennials from the mid-2000s era, where we connected with the emotional MCR grief as kids, shunned it away with embarrassment as young adults, then years later realized that we genuinely loved this phase of our lives and the honest emotions it brought out of us at that time. Anyways, Shadow's got a big history. Even I have trouble remembering it sometimes. Is he a robot? Is he a clone? Is he Sonic dipped in black paint? I don't know. And frankly, I don't need to know. The air of mystery suits him. I don't want to plot out the 4 million cutscenes from his 2005 game. His presence is enough for a lot of people, including me. Whoever slam dunked this character into the Attitude Era of Sonic deserves half of Sega's proceeds. Whenever I imagine modern Sonic, this guy is always there next to him. Sonic will always be cool, but Shadow will always be cooler. That's his job. But the last one rounding out Team Dark Story is Rouge the Bat.
You can call me Rouge.
Oh, Shadow.
You left the door open.
Better stay out of my way!
Rouge was probably a big moment for, a lot of people. Narratively, I think she's a great tie-in to the modern vibe the franchise was creeping into. Most of the Sonic characters seem to live in their own space, but it's clear Rouge has been around. She's a double-crossing spy thief who works directly with the president, if you can believe it. Sometimes I wonder if there's like a whole subset of Mobians who are just chill with humans, and they view Sonic and his friends as like backwater hillbillies who stick to their island. Along with her phenomenal networking skills, I appreciated that she always seemed to have a trick up her sleeve. Some angle that she could pull if things didn't go her way. Like, I imagine she has 12 fallbacks if any plan goes south. She's up there in intelligence with Tails, IMO. I'm glad she's being featured more in the franchise now, although I never got the vibe that she wanted to help Sonic and his friends, more instead just to use them. I think Knuckles is the only one who sees through it, which is probably why they're so friendly. I think Rouge could have been mishandled pretty easily, especially with her design. But the characterization they gave her in the games, and strangely enough in Sonic X of all places, makes her feel essential to the main cast. If Sonic is having an adventure, Rouge probably knows about it. And she smells opportunity. And Knuckles. Congratulations, Rouge. You're cool enough to hang with Shadow. But you are not cooler than Shadow. Alright, let's cut deeper into this game, because it's good. It's tough for me to say something that others haven't already said. This game has been analyzed, dissected, and proselytized by people smarter than me, so I'll try and sum up my feelings quick. And that is an absolute lie. This is the tightest Sonic's gameplay has ever been for me, and I've yet to play a future title that replicated the momentum and operable speed of Adventure 2. But that's just talking about Sonic. There's other levels that break up the pace, and I gotta say, I don't like them. Knuckles' levels were tolerable because they went by pretty quick, and had the advantage of being randomized, so it was like a platforming brain game in between speed sessions. Tails, I hated. Those levels felt like such a roadblock when they came between Sonic's speed. I'm surprised because I think they nailed the run-and-gun gameplay with Gamma in SA1. He moved very fast, while still displaying his robotic weight. Tails and Eggman's mechs feel like clunky tanks. I can understand the value of keeping things gradual when the goal is to shoot, but I enjoyed Gamma's shoot and traversal much better. But I still enjoy these two knuckleheads as characters regardless. I also want to quickly comment on the environmental design. After the first couple missions, the set dressing of some of these levels becomes straight up wacky. The desert sections are filled with all these comical Eggman reliefs and monuments, and once we get up in space, things get really off the hook. Walls and ceilings have depth, with their glass barriers and the nonsensical lights and screens going haywire. It makes things feel so over the top. Additionally, the music is wonderfully paired with all the previous elements I mentioned. I think the soundtrack is much more connected than Adventure 1. I could really hear June's guitar tracing through on almost all of these tracks. Instead of playing to the environment of the stages, the music incorporates little motifs into its runtime. You can especially hear this in levels like Sand Ocean or White Jungle. Imagine SA1's soundtrack as individual singles written for each level. SA2's soundtrack is like a concept album, a cohesive sound that implements the characterization of the levels into the music. And Crush 40 is always perfect, so no criticism there. Here's something I picked up also. Along with the cutscenes and convos, Sonic is acting a lot more human in this one. He breaches mascot territory for a bit and becomes more defined as he flips around and smirks to all hell. Sonic somersaults more than he curls up. Instead of the springy bounces, he shouts, "Up!" when he jumps. Like, in Adventure, he just kind of jumps and turns into that little ball. But in Adventure 2, he does not become a ball. You clearly see him in that little circle. No video gamey jump sound, just Sonic. Even if Adventure started it, I think Adventure 2 really sealed the deal on making Sonic more human. Less of a mascot and more of a believable creature in this sick, twisted little world. Okay, back to it. Overall, this is a loud game, and I don't just mean the music. The stakes, the characters, the settings, it's all so over the top, and it rarely tries to rein itself in. It's all in service of Sonic and his adventure. 2. This game was also intended to be the last hurrah for the Dreamcast, and you can really feel that they went all out on it. Even the plot ends up threatening the entire world by the end of it in such a dramatic fashion, and with that somber ending and tragic farewell to Shadow, who is most definitely dead and will never return, Sonic Adventure 2 was the capstone to the short-lived modern era. Until, everyone loved it and they made a billion more, thank God. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite line?
Bernoulli Spherical Space Colony.
Yeah. Guys' favorite Sonics are the adventure games. What else is new? Well, as a tiny zygote, that was it. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 were my roadmap for years to come. I knew what was cool, and it was this guy. And also now this guy too. I could still only get my proper Sonic fill at my cousin's house, so I had to just make up my own harrowing Sonic storylines at home. Maybe Sonic fights like Tails, or maybe Sonic has a gun. Imagine that. But without a console, I couldn't play any of these freaking games. Think of all the adventures that were out there, that I was missing just sitting at home drawing Sonic with a gun. What if they make another Shadow? Would I miss it? Well, there was one place I could go. No, I didn't go that far, believe me. I was so young, even I was afraid to go down those rabbit holes. Bad terminology. Instead, I just searched Newgrounds for Sonic fan games to sate the hedgehog-shaped hole in my heart. If you uploaded Sonic fan games to Newgrounds.com between the years of 2004 and 2007, then rejoice, knowing some 8-year-old kid was biting his desk at your terrible game design. Okay, that's a little harsh. We were all just messing around and uploading crap, but this was as close to Sonic as I could get, so I better get used to it. And there was one game that rose above them all. Literally, since it was always at the top. And that was Ultimate Flash Sonic. I could get no Sonic at home, so this was the next best thing, and dare I say it was good. In 2004, definitely. If you had no Sonics, then you were most likely playing this Sonic, uploaded to Newgrounds in 2004 by Dennis Gidd. Ultimate Flash Sonic was a Flash game that emulated the Sonic Advance style. And for a Flash game back then, it replicated Sonic's speed and traversal pretty damn well. You got 2 zones, 2 bosses, 5 playable characters, and a couple cheat codes. It's not huge, but it is a complete package. I stuck to this game like glue because of its multitude of characters. You're gonna hear that a lot in this video, my attachment to the cast. It's what I focused on in the games the most at that age. I like these guys, and I wanted to see more, and through Ultimate Flash Sonic, I was at least able to play as them. And this person, whoever they are. This little 1 megabyte file was more than enough for Sonic-deprived children, and I wouldn't be surprised if that crackly version of Angel Island doesn't bring back some memories. I tried to look into Dennis Gidd, but couldn't find much. He would go by menace.ch sometimes, and he seemed to have a Twitter account that got quiet in 2017, where he did take credit. I also found his itch.io page, which I will be linking below. Thanks, Dennis! But I wasn't just gaming on Newgrounds, I was also chuckling up a storm at all the great Flash animations that parodied our fast little friend. I don't want to get stuck too long on each, so let's briefly look at some of my faves from that time, in quick succession. Nazo Unleashed. This thing blew my goddamn mind as a kid, and I know I'm not alone in this. Chakra X practically catapulted Nazo into superstardom. I tried to play as Nazo at recess, and if my friends didn't know, they were about to find out. It's insane that he just created a backstory from this image, animated it, and it has since gone on to become one of the strongest Sonic characters in fan circles. Everyone knows this guy, because he was in this animation. Nazo Unleashed is a 30-minute animation of the sickest fight of all time. It was originally a 3-parter, but it's now been stitched together and up-resed by the creator. I love it when they do that. The use of the score and sound effects really upped the gravitas of this whole thing. I even remember getting emotional in the ending bits. Sonic just had to win. Please, Sonic. But Nazo felt so goddamn powerful. Was just Sonic and Shadow enough to defeat the almighty— oh shit, Shattuck! finally something new for me to draw! This guy was practically in the canon in my child mind. I always saw him there in my brain movies. What a classic. Sonic Uncut. Domestic Sonic Here We Go, a theme that I, and many others, would chase to the end of time. Put Sonic in a house, make him do normal things that get real wacky. Air travel, milkshakes, macaroni pencil holders, all that fun stuff. This thing is definitely a product of early 2000s internet, and it's kind of a twisted time capsule in that regard. Also, this is 20 years ago, and you still see all these Sonic jokes being used today. It's kind of funny. Tails abuse, Shadow doing drugs, Shadow wanting to kill well, that's kind of normal. Also, shout out to the Sonic Paradox team. They got in contact with Hyperactive Youth, the original creator, and got the original Flash files from them. They then bumped it up to 1080p and upgraded all those compressed sounds for a YouTube upload. That's a lot of work to preserve these things, and they've done it with other animations too. They understand the importance of these early Sonic animations. I really commend them for keeping this history alive. We'll definitely be thanking them in the future. And hey, they made some great stuff of their own too. Sonic Shorts. The coolest thing ever, by far. A Sonic satire collection by a league of talented animators, in the style of Robot Chicken. Is that comparison an insult now? I hope not. This is where I found a lot of the early animators I followed. Many of them contributed to this thing. Also, I think this is where I first learned of those rare Sonic characters who barely showed up in the games, or not at all. This thing was like a crash course into the Sonic fandom at that time, and I feel like a lot of the inside jokes from this thing are still used to this day. Sonic's Halloween costume. More domestic Sonic! This time at a Halloween party. What I remember the most was the fight at the end of the second part and how sick Undead Tails looked. I drew this Tails so many times as a kid. I just loved how he looked. This gory, hooded freak. A proto-Sonic EXE for the time. At least for me. There's something about evil, bloody Sonic characters that just catapults children's brains into the grimdark horror zone. I wonder if it's because Sonic's storylines are so dramatic yet approachable. It's a lot of people's first introduction to heavy stakes and aggressive characters who can survive against unsurmountable odds. And evil, scary people with bloody eyes. Ooh, all of the Wax's animations. Sonic and Halo, people! The Wax Man was able to replicate the Sonic style so well. He really wowed me back then. He also drew a lot of stuff with the robots, and I love the robots. Always excited to see his stuff show up in all the Sonic shorts. I thought he was the bee's knees. I remember watching Full Metal Alchemist later and being like, oh, that's what this is from. Sonic in 4 minutes. Hilarious quick little summaries of the Sonic games. I remember watching the Adventure 2 one a lot. I used to even take this as the fanbase's consensus on everything about these games. I stole Roger's opinions and substituted them for my own. Thanks, buddy. Sonic Switch. This was the grungiest I saw Sonic, and therefore I thought it was sick as hell. Also original. Most of everything else felt like a satire or a slice of life, but this felt like its own twisted little story, from start to finish. I think I drew Dog Sonic a lot too. I liked when they went crazy. There's so many other animations I watched, but these were my most frequent. I could go on about all these endlessly, but this video is nearly 3 hours, so let's hit pause on the internet for now and keep going forward. We still got a lot to get through. Props to my mom. I don't know where she found this. She knew I liked the character so much, so one day she brought home a Sonic movie on VHS, which I still own. How many points do I get for that one? I adored this film because it helped fill in Sonic's past, the past I saw when witnessing his first 16-bit game. I knew what the Sonic of today was like, but this was the Sonic of before. A classic Sonic, if you will. I rewatched this again recently, and it holds up as a jaunty, fun adventure with action-packed moments. A lot of the humor is integrated with the fight scenes. Also, this movie scared the crap out of me as a kid, I'll say that. Particularly the dark scenes in destroyed cityscapes or misty rain, the ripped-up face of Metal Robotnik, or even the shot of Sonic nearly drowning stuck with me. But the trio was still able to laugh and joke even in trouble, and that made me like them even more. Also, I know classic Sonic is not supposed to talk, but if he ever did, this is what he sounds like in my mind. High-pitched, showboaty, dramatic, and radical. If modern Sonic is cool, then the classic Sonic of the 90s is radical. And also kinda cute. Aw. Same with Tails and Knuckles here. They all sound super young and appropriate for their shorter designs. Lainey Frazier's nasally direction with Tails is so strange that I end up loving it. You never heard Tails sound like this ever again. And Edwin Neal's Eggman. I always felt classic Eggman would have a hint of an accent, and Edwin is doing something here that works. Maybe it's just villainese. And speaking of villains, there's someone I just gotta talk about.
Looks exactly like Sonic!
That's Metal Sonic?
Kill him! This is my favorite Sonic character. A silly choice, I know, but what is cooler than cool and cooler? Rejecting cool entirely. No need to speak when you're kicking ass so hard. Okay, I'll admit, most of the Metal Sonic I love is the one I invented in my head. I'm pulling a Big the Cat here. But his presence has always been terrifying to me. A robot with no flicky, just a bundle of death created to kill its own image. And in this movie, they went real hard with the imagery. He's always looking down at you, cocking his head even if you're on the same level, staring forever. He looks solid. Whenever he punches Sonic, I know it's gotta hurt. And the shine sells his fresh new car appearance. Not only that, he's got claw hands, people. That's pretty cool. In the games, Metal Sonic is kinda just there to get showed up. And he's always playing second fiddle to any larger evil. Well, until one game, but we'll get to that. Metal Sonic is my favorite design. When they accentuate his thin endoskeleton appearance, I think he looks very intimidating. This is one of the characters I wish could talk. I know that's against the law, but I feel like after chasing Sonic for all these years, being bested over and over again, he must have something to say. Something's going on in there. I just know it. His fight with Sonic is sick, and his death is even more radical than Gamma's. Why do I love the robot so much? Anywho, the OVA was the only Sonic story I had for the longest time. Just this videotape. I played it over and over again. There's no way it didn't imprint on me. No wonder I like Metal Sonic so much. So, this was all the Sonic content I could get my hands on at such a young age. It carried me through those early years and clearly has left a lasting impression on me. I desperately wanted a Sonic game of my own that I could play over and over again. But we were now entering a new era where opportunities like that could actually become possible. How? Probably should call this the Adam mows some lawns era, but you know what I mean. Not enough for me to buy a PS2, but my brother got one, and I, yet again, got to watch. My parents held off on us getting a console because they feared it would take up too much of our time. And boy, were they right. We've been glued to that shit ever since. But among the Ratchet and Clanks and Tony and Hawks of my collection was the first Sonic game I ever owned. I remember this game made me so mad. Only because I wasn't good at it. But I kept that shit to my grave. There was no way I was going to admit I was getting frustrated at a Sonic game. Especially not at that age. Sonic Heroes. This is another one of those weird ones, but by God, they tried something, didn't they? 12 playable characters, 3 at a time. Each more slippery than a bar of soap. A large part of my frustration was that many attacks propelled you forward, which made me easily slip into one of 1,000 bottomless pits. But man oh man, I didn't care, because we got so many people this time. Everyone is here! Even Shadow! What? Why? How? Whatever. It's a mad world, and everyone is after Eggman. The story is what made me play this game. I was still aching for a Sonic TV show, and this game basically had 4 little seasons snuck into a whole game. What has Rouge been up to? How does Amy manage her own team? Why is Shadow still alive? And who are these guys?
You know, I got a hunch.
I'll go undercover.
But what about our money?
Damn.
Who's this for?
Mission complete.
Piece of cake. Good job, boy.
I'm bundling these dudes together because they're a bit of a package. Team Chaotix, the detectives, in it for cold, hard cash. I thought these guys were fresh. I had no idea they were returning champs, but they held my attention. Ninja Chameleon, New York Crocodile, Very Big B. In a lot of stories, there's always the blue-collar outsider. Think Han Solo, someone who doesn't believe in the grand mythos of the universe, they're just trying to get by in the wake of the hero's actions. That's the Chaotix. They do assist when they can, but they'd much rather work for themselves and make their own money. And characters like this are always charming, because they can be indifferent to the large stakes at play. And that is cool. If you could say, screw the Force, I got a gun, you look pretty sick. And each of them denies the larger narrative in their own way. Vector feels more power in doing things for himself, and his family, let's be honest. Espio remains cautious of a larger involvement, and I think Charmy is just more inclined to mess around with his buddies than get serious with those Sonic heroes over there. It would be cool if they divided these guys up individually, which does happen sometimes, but even then it's all in service of the team instead of like, what does Espio think of aliens? Does he think they're cool? So happy we got these guys and they've stuck around. Always a joy when they make an appearance. You know they're up to something, because Charmy will probably tell you, they're Team Chaotix, and they're gonna kick your butt. I don't know. Anyways, let's get back to those Sonic heroes over there. I'm surprised this one never got a remaster. It feels like its time is due. I'm not going to try and analyze the gameplay here because, truthfully, I have not played it since it came out. And then I went to eBay and bought myself a copy to play on my Xbox 360. How about that? And boy was it chugging along, but it ran smooth during the actual game. Don't worry. and I could not believe how much fun I was having. I think Seaside Hill is one of the greatest Sonic levels of all time. It almost never slows down, and you are moving with barriers to keep you from flying out of bounds. You're also swapping characters with enough space to pull off a lot of the fun things they want you to do, like the Sonic Tornadoes or Knuckles' friendship triangle. They separated the enemies enough for you to take advantage of the team's slippery nature. A quick Thunder Strike and you're on the move again. What a level! And then you go to Grand Metropolis, and then Casino Park, and then Rail Canyon, and things get real bad. I'll say this, if all the mechanics in this game functioned as intended, I think it would be one of the best Sonics out there. Truthfully. I wish this thing got like a Project 06 fan overhaul. It really needs some tweaking. But almost all of your cool moves will kill you. If you want to survive, you will refrain from pulling off any tricks. Which is a shame, because you know how good that feels from just level 1. And when Lost Jungle and Hang Castle start shoving tanky enemies in your face, the momentum just nosedives. I don't think I've ever experienced such highs and lows in a Sonic game before. Incredible sense of thrills, followed by controller-biting frustration. But Casino Park and Bingo Highway, my god, who put the last levels at the front of the game? And should I even go into Bingo Highway? I know you've heard it all before, but this is my video, so I'm having my whiny baby loser moment. How did I beat this as a child? What must have I gone through? I spent over 15 minutes trying to clear that part. Which, hey, for anyone else about to shove bingo balls up their eye sockets, friendly tip. You can just send one dude down the slope at a time if you jump far enough away with the others. That way, when you die, and you will, you just teleport back to the next unfortunate victim. 15 minutes? Okay, and alright, fine, my last complaint. These levels are long. Like, I think the average time I had for each was at least 7 minutes. That's insane. I was gunning through adventure levels in like under 3. I know that's not the point in this one, but I am mentally conditioned into a fast as hell franchise. When I creep past the 5-minute mark, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I am. Maybe I just suck. I can't imagine trying to A-rank some of these. I'd be digesting like 5 Xbox controllers at that point. And then I hit Egg Fleet, and it's all smiles. When I finished that level, I thought it was better than Seaside Hill. You are speeding through battleships so fast in this stage, with set piece after set piece. It really is a perfect example of what Sonic Heroes could pull off if it just narrowed you in and kept you going. You have time to choose how you want to progress, and you can just skip enemies entirely if you prefer, like in Adventure. And you know I love this one, because I actually A-ranked that sucker. And then you get to that part at the end of Final Fortress with the 3 giant robots, and you just used your Team Blast on the 2 before, and you're back to hell. Alright, whiny baby loser moment is over. We're going posy vibes here on out. I'm gonna take a breath, then talk about things I liked. Because Sonic Heroes is pulling off some amazing things. I think the different formations are exciting. If you nail the flow of swapping between these dudes, you end up feeling pretty cool, like everyone's working together on a heist or something. Teamwork is a big focus, and you can feel it in more than just the gameplay. Now, I want to be specific with how I announce this. I like how much they're talking to each other in this one. I don't love how many times Tails repeats, "Look at all those Eggman's robots." But I do love that Team Sonic has so much specific dialogue for every set piece, on every level. Did I say Team Sonic? I meant Team Dark, and Team Rose, and Team Chaotix. It floored me how much dialogue was recorded for this one. Remember, all I ever wanted was these critters to hang out. And they were doing that, all the time. Every character even has unique idle dialogue, for every level. That's crazy. The terrified exclamations and good-natured ribbing really makes each level feel like a movie. Or maybe even like a Universal Studios theme park ride or something. You don't get this anywhere else because the rest of the Sonics are all solo. But in Heroes you remember, oh yeah, these guys really are friends, and they go on adventures, and have a good time. Hell yeah. Alright, I do want to praise some things about the levels here. We're back to zones instead of global connected environments. No explanation needed, and good thing too, because we go to a variety of places. Ocean palaces, rail canyons, and oh, thank God, we got Halloween levels again! They could have easily just duplicated things for their Act 2s, but a lot of these double features feel wildly different. Hang Castle is an exterior location, but Mystic Mansion is all interior. That's pretty crazy. They went way less naturalistic here too. Items and track elements are bright and easy to spot. Sonic Heroes feels very gamey. I'm sorry I talk so much on this one. It's the most recent game I beat, so I had a lot of stuff to get off my chest. Bingo Highway. Why would you even do that to a kid? Let's see, what else? The story kind of takes a back seat next to the plethora of character interactions, both between teams and inside them. The driving force here is less to solve the mystery and more to just hear Rouge try to console Shadow. If we can even call him that. But it all leads up to my main guy, looking fresh in his kicks and cape. Neo Metal Sonic. This is kind of like Metal's very own Shadow, just a cooler version and way more sinister. And then he transforms into Mechagodzilla, which I love to see. Online. because I couldn't get that far in my own game. Sonic Heroes' place in the pantheon is for its focus on character, less individually and more as a group of friendly critters. Games after this almost felt lacking if they didn't comment on everyone's whereabouts. Favorite level?
Alright, Eggman.
Favorite song? Favorite line?
Who's this broad?
But it also evolved the mythos into a more open Mobian world. Before, Sonic and his pals were just a ragtag team on an island. But with this many guys, there must be a whole world of Sonic out there. He's not alone, he's from a society. So where's that place? I had to know, and I would find that out in horrifying ways later on. But first, it's May 4th, 2005, and I gotta open up my copy of Electronic Gaming Monthly. I hear they got a fresh scoop on the new whip-smart adventure from Sonic the... Hey kid, wanna smoke some crack? Okay! This isn't real. There's no way. That's a real gun. Shadow's holding like an actual gun. It's fake. It has to be fake. They would never give him a gun. These 4 pictures seared themselves into my retinas. I looked past language. I didn't even see words anymore. These were actual gameplay screenshots. And that was an actual, real-life, man-killing, bullet-shooting, fully modeled, realistically textured, semi-automatic gun. I was 9 years old when this game came out, and that was a huge problem. Why? Because if they rated this thing teen, I couldn't play it. And I had to play it. I had to know what Shadow was going to do with that gun. This couldn't be a more laser-targeted game to usher me into my pre-teens. Sonic was beginning to range on Kiddy in my sphere of influence, and I needed to hold on tight. He was just so happy and carefree, but Shadow had a gun. Shadow was gonna kill people. Awesome! I was prepped on 3 cheers for Sweet Revenge and American Idiot. Shadow looked just like them. He was dark and emotional. He had baggage, and he could get really, really angry. I prefaced my analysis on all this because, of course I loved this game. At the time, it was the most adult thing I had interacted with. Barely making it past that E+10 rating, thank God. I still have my old chewed-up Xbox copy, so I gave this game a quick run-through. One quick run-through, because you need like 35 to beat the whole thing. I'm in a similar boat with Sonic Heroes on this one. I think a lot of the gameplay concepts are novel for a Sonic game, but the implementation is yet again misguided. If this thing also got a Project 06 treatment, I think people would learn to appreciate what they were trying to do here. I've heard the Reloaded mod fixes a lot of this, so I'll link it below. Stages were no longer races, and instead, well, kill fests, where you gotta murder 40 cops for the angriest starfish. The checkpoints let you warp between areas, and fully utilize the multitude of weapons and vehicles littered across the area for you. Not only that, you had your Code Red and Blizzard Blast powers that really made you feel like the ultimate lifeform. Shadow's movement is much more adapted for these objective-oriented levels. He can grab ledges, shimmy, slide down poles, and he doesn't go flying off the edge like in Heroes. But he's still just as slippery. His speed is appreciated on levels like Lethal Highway, but when you need to stop and search for delicious humans, like in Westopolis, you kinda want him to slow down. Still, this game is trying its best to make you look cool, and I appreciate that goalpost. Anyways, I had to start a fresh run. I bounced around a bit, met Rouge, Charmy, and oh my god, she's really here! The dead little girl is an actual companion! I did not remember this part. What the hell is this? This is a real level. Maria actually tells you to press the action button. It's incredible. You can even go against her and switch to the evil side. See?
I've gotta help Maria.
Oh god, Maria! As a child, I was impressed by the branching narrative and the fact that different wind states would shuttle you onto a different path. Not only that, everyone was here again. This game acts as a sequel to Adventure 2, but it honestly feels more connected to Heroes than anything. Seeing everyone pop up with the same character models was like checking in on our main cast post Metal's Wacky Weekend. Alright, I have nowhere else to put him, so I'm gonna keep him close to family. Let's talk about one more robot.
Locked on Eggman. Eliminate Eggman. What is Eggman up to? Eggman. Shadow. Who is Metropolis?
God, you are a big boy, you know that? Omega looks a little out of place next to all the other critters. He looks like he could rip them in half. Omega was our solution to no more Gamma. Gotta have another Eggman robot in there. As you should. Although, his arc isn't as engrossing, nor completed, because it is literally to murder Dr. Eggman. And I don't know if that's gonna happen. At least he calmed down between games, hangs out with Mom and Dad more. Omega's design was always a bit too massive for me. I mean, look at those arms. You could fit 3 hedgehogs in there. Also, I don't like his nose. Is that a nose? Maybe you can press it in.
Self-destruct initiated.
Oh god. Omega needs a bit more exploring. Yet again, a lot of his character comes from what the fans perceive him to be. A big robo-baby that can rip hedgehogs in half. And that's not the worst thing in the world. He's probably the character I think about the least out of everyone, but he understands that Shadow and Rouge are much cooler than Sonic, and for that, I give him a gold star. Here you are, buddy. In this specific scenario, though, he fits in well with Shadow the Hedgehog's intense story. Everyone needs a massive killer robot by their side. Alright, let's see. Who else is here? Cream!
Please be more careful. That's pretty scary. I tried to be brave. I can help you out in the kitchen. I'm so glad for you. I'm gonna surprise my mom by making her a crown out of flowers.
Where is your mother? Someone keep her away from the guns. For our safety. This is a character that kind of went away for a bit. Glad to see her back, and playable in Dream Team. Man, I gotta try that one. Cream is a little girl with ears so massive she can fly around with them. That almost sounds like an insult, but I promise it's not. I think Cream is another important character to show that the world is bigger than Sonic. There's other normal, everyday animal folk who live in nice houses with their moms and their pet Chow. Cream's also a little indicator that people here do interact with Chow. They're not just a minigame or a collectible. Other people can see them too. I'm not crazy, I knew it. You get way more of Cream in Sonic X than anything else, and I've barely watched that, so my Cream comprehension is at an all-time low. Otherwise, she's just kind of there as well. But props to helping take down Metal Sonic. That'll look good on your college application. Hey, where'd that gun go? Alright, back to Shadow's trauma lottery. I finished my playthrough with the Android ending. Sure, why not? Beep boop, ultimate life form. Whoa! Library? Oh, sick, I got Imperialism! Hey, Shadow, Imperialism is now unlocked in the menu setting. I didn't go any further, but I did back as a little child. This was the rare Sonic game that I actually managed 100%. I desperately wanted to fill in all those boxes and watch Shadow turn into a light bulb. I forgot how they wrap things up. There's like 40 different reasons for Shadow's reappearance. I assume he's still not a robot, right? I don't think I can scrutinize the tone on this one. You've definitely heard it all before. This isn't even Edge. It's like postmodern Edge. There's no way the creators intended it to be that way, but it's all I can see now. If anything, this game deserves a look. You just gotta see this thing in action. Everything is so dramatic. And he swears. And says this.
This is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
It's like they thought we wouldn't understand that first line. Of course he'd be fine with it. He doesn't need to literally say,
I'm the coolest.
Okay, fine, this is pretty in character. What else? Well, this game is insane. Can you believe it? It takes so many logical leaps. Like, why is Rouge inside a computer? There is a computer level, by the way. Multiple computer levels. In one, you even explore a massive digital landscape with electro highways that take you between these multicolored data spires. What is this doing in a Sonic game? And that's the answer, isn't it? Because it's not a Sonic game. It's a Shadow game. It's an attempt to rework the speedy racetracks of previous games into a combat and objective-oriented open zone, while still keeping up with the fun run aspects of our Blue Buddy. This game is a more ferocious, convoluted, and sensational Sonic game. Just like Shadow is to Sonic. It's not great, but yet again, it's experimental, and that's what I come for with Sonic Team. From Heroes to Shadow, these games were getting weird, and fans were most likely itching for a return to form. Careful what you wish for. I could have easily ripped this thing apart, but this is a story about me and my troubled past, so it's getting a shout out that 9-year-old Adam would appreciate. This game is sick as hell, and I don't need to clean my room, Mom. Favorite level?
I'll make you wish you'd never created me.
Favorite song? Favorite line?
This is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
Well, let's see what's on TV at this current moment. Hey, something's coming right at me! Hey, I actually caught this one as it was going on. Intermittently, online, through shitty YouTube rips. The Sonic TV show. I knew they made some before, but I was never around for that. This was current, and it was all about the games. Like, literally. That's Chaos. That's Gamma. And oh my god, that is Shadow. And that's Lettuce! I have not seen this thing all the way through, just the occasional episode here and there. It was so cool to have the events of some of my favorite video games get animated on my television set / computer. And they all talk like they did from the games. Those were the same people. So cool. In terms of my original feelings, the hype sort of stopped there. I enjoyed Sonic in the real world as I had seen before. I hated that he had to hang out with Ash Ketchum and Doc Brown. I didn't like the humans at all, I just wanted more Sonic characters chatting each other up. But the replication of adventure cutscenes got me real excited. I thought they were going to go through every game. Heroes, Shadow the Hedgehog, even the originals, which I'll get to in a sec. But then I heard they went into space, and then super into space, and kinda lost interest. Mini Adam just wanted literal cartoon cutscenes. Adult Adam can appreciate the ever-present experimentation once again peeking its head into the Sonic franchise. This time with the Metarex, I've barely discerned what happens in that third season besides like a Wikipedia synopsis, but that season more than anything is what would draw me to a rewatch. This one will be put on the books. Also, I will mention that the Japanese version of Sonic X is much more different than our English counterpart. We got all 4 kids over here. Reduce that violence and cut out Sonic swearing. Man, I want to hear Jason Griffith shout, "Shit, no fair." I've seen some episodes of the Japanese cut a while ago, and they drew me in more. One day, Sonic S. One day. Alright, I think Mom and Dad closed the door. Let's log back into the internet.
I am the computer man. I can do anything you can.
See if that Sonic X show did, I don't know, anything to anybody? Found a lot of Amy pictures on here. 98% of them I can't show you, so you'll just have to trust me. Besides the Newgrounds hub world, this was the first place I wandered into to search for Sonic content. Talk about throwing me into the deep end. Sumimasen. Please no shoes. I've forgotten most of the Sonic artists of the Ice Age, but there is one I do recall, and that's Vaporotem. I hope I said that right. The April Fool's comics were the first thing that came back to my DA brain. Those always made me laugh so hard. Looking back now, I wonder if their cartoony expressions had rubbed off on me. Another favorite of mine was their tiny strip about Sonic murdering Tails, who somehow keeps coming back. That came out years in the future, when I returned to DeviantArt, in the early 2010s, to post my own Sonic art. Well, only one. This right here. Why? Well, we're jumping way ahead here, but when I was getting back into doodling, I wanted to see if I could knock out some quick and easy Sonic characters to use in a comic series or something. I landed on these big circled freaks, which I kinda never moved on from. Oh well. I tried to recreate all the characters in this style. I made many attempts. You can see them here. Nothing ever came to fruition. I don't even remember what it was gonna be about. Maybe Sonic was gonna smoke weed. Alright, let's keep going. Okay, this one is kind of a bait and switch, since I don't remember any fanfiction I read. I recall vague topics, like I definitely remember reading a Sonic and Amy fanfiction on DeviantArt, with a Sonic X screenshot of them like running on the beach. My mom walked in and I wished I was watching porn. Anything else I looked into had to do with crossovers. Those were my favorite to read. Put Sonic in Halo, put Sonic in Ratchet & Clank, put Sonic in Jurassic Park. I desperately wanted all these characters to meet. Shadow had to shoot guns with Master Chief. He just had to. But there were a lot of other fan fictions, and you know what those were about.
I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
Hey, look at me. Look me in the eyes. I don't care. I don't care what you do. If you're having fun, I'm happy. Just live your life, man. We only got like 80 years maybe. Even less for you kids, the world's on fire. Good luck with that. It's just everywhere, bro. It's too late to fight it. Any of it. And it's so damn popular. I guarantee you 7 people used it as a tax write-off this year. You might hate it, but you can't deny it's like the main focus for 50% of the audience. Do I need to bring up the AO3 numbers? Should I dust off the ancient Sonami texts from DeviantArt? For both our sakes, let's just nod our heads and move forward. Let's put our shoes back on and bring ourselves back to the basics. And boy, did I have the passport to do that. Finally, after years and years of waiting, I got to play those original Sonic video games. Numerically, 1 through Knuckles. And what a collection! Not only the main line, but the Game Gear too! And most of the spin-offs. And Rystar! Woo! Since this disc holds the classics, let's just go through all of them here. Starting with Sonic Al Natural, numero uno, Sonic's Adventure before Sonic's Adventure. Like I said before, I had played the original a couple times on Now That's What I Call Sega Volume 7, but now I had save states by my side, so I could actually get past those spike pits in Act 2. Replaying this now, I forgot how tough this game is. Definitely the toughest of the original quadrilogy. I also forgot that its zones extend to 3. Every time I hit the 3rd act, I was like, oh god, there's more, and it wasn't easy. Strangely enough, I always found that the game gets more difficult near the center, with Spring Yard and Labyrinth Zone. Once I hit Starlight and Scrap Brain, I have a much easier time. Maybe it's all that water, or the barrel dead zone. I think all the original Sonics hold up, with this one being the exception. Not because of any design flaw, and more for the difficulty. I think a child would need a couple tries before getting to Spring Yard, where 2 and 3 have you flying through zones fast and winning almost instantly. Props to the blueprint though, it deserves its place in the Video Game Hall of Fame. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite sprite? Not much else to say than what's been said, you know the deal. But it does give us time to finally start checking in on our main cast, especially with the main man himself.
Oh yeah, you're too slow. That's no. Shut up, damn! Fish on my head.
Not another speeding ticket.
Hey Shadow, enjoy your future. Amy, jealous.
No copyright.
Gotta do what I've gotta do.
I die hard. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog.
You don't know how hard it was to not put the Outrigger startup right there. Sonic T. Hedgehog. Mr. Mascot. Fastest thing alive. Way past cool. You're too slow. Stay in school. Probably one of my favorite video game characters ever. Not because of any deep character introspection, more so his ever-present vibe. The great thing about Sonic being cool is that he can't be stagnant. He has to change with the times. So Sonic constantly evolves. A little convenient maybe, but now we got a lot of Sonics to choose from, and I think I like all of them. Each corner's cool in their own little way, reminiscent of the time. TV Sonic can annoy your parents. Adventure Sonic can hang loose. Late 2000s Sonic captures heroics. Even Boom Sonic can step outside fiction and make fun of itself, especially with Sonic's reputation at the time. People will have favorites, and I'm sure versions they loathe, but my dirty, centrist opinion is that I think they're all fine and do Sonic's job well enough. The parts of him I found grating, I realize now, is kind of the point. Sonic should be a little annoying. Like, if Sonic flossed, I wouldn't bat an eye. Oh, he did do that. He should be impulsive, self-centered. A preteen should be able to root for his rule-breaking. But it's all for a purpose. Sonic is still optimistic, heroic, and attention-seeking. He can still convince an audience that you can look cool doing the right thing, being a hero. Sonic doesn't have to preach morals, he just needs to act. We can glean everything off of his heroics. That's probably why he is one of my video game faves. He's got an eternal spirit that's never really been broken. Despite all his crazy games, you can always count on Sonic to at least look cool. Maybe not to you specifically, but it works on someone. And that is a vibe I can jive with. Alright, let's move on to the best game ever.
Oh, trigger.
This is my favorite Sonic game of all time. I have more nostalgia for the modern era, but this game is fantastic. It improves on so much of the original. Sonic goes to so many new places. It broadens the world, introduces new characters, new stakes. It's even more vibrant. Sonic is a brighter blue. The zones feel so much louder. And there's so many of them. I'm glad they stuck to only 2 zones in this one. You don't get stuck in one area for very long. The detail of the environment's also upgraded. In the first game, I often feel like I'm running through magnified pinball boards. But the environments in 2 hold a larger set of detail, more action with the foreground and background. Chemical Plant feels busy, Hilltop Zone feels high up. They're really selling their environments here with the backgrounds and tile sets. I also think this game is very approachable. As I mentioned earlier, you can get pretty far in this one, even if you don't know what you're doing. Maybe those flipping panels in Chemical Plant will set you back a couple lives, but I don't think the difficulty really sets in until Mystic Cave. And that level is great. But heads up, Sonic's got a little pal right now, so let's move on to our next main cast member.
I did it all by myself.
Don't underestimate me.
I'm not scared. All's well that ends well, right?
Wow, we're in big trouble. Hey, Sonic, Sonic, Sonic. Is it okay if I call you Sonic?
I don't think I ever met anyone who didn't like Tails. He's like genetically engineered to be a likable little guy. And a great pairing with Sonic too, someone who mirrors our admiration of his latent cool energy. He's a fan, he looks up to Sonic, but he's still resourceful. He could fly a goddamn plane. I get the same giddiness with Shadow whenever Tails shows up. Everyone look! It's the little guy! Tails has developed into a great partner for Sonic's adventures. He keeps him level-headed and pointed in the right direction. Their brotherly bond is also a great characteristic. They need each other, let's be honest. In the intro I mentioned the Tawakening, and that's an important part of this guy. Sonic is cool, and what better way to show that than keeping his biggest fan nearby? Constantly. I don't think you could do this with Mario and Luigi. They feel much more like good-natured brothers looking out for each other. But Tails idolizes Sonic to such an extent that it sells the cool factor. He's unique in that regard. He props up our mascot even further. Tails' arc has kind of been sidelined for now, and honestly completed. He wants to be his own man, not reliant on his big brother. But goddammit, you've proven yourself, Tails. Get that nonsense out of your head. That's the trouble though. Where do you go with him from here? Many options, but I haven't seen any of that in the recent games I've played. He's just kinda helping, keeping Sonic on track. For his role, that's not a huge upset. To keep me happy, I just need Tails to smile and torrent a movie. I don't know. Do something on a computer. Also, he's got a first and last name with a nickname. I bet Sonic gave him that nickname. Or maybe it was the bullies. That would be awful. Or maybe he's taken control of his trauma and accepted the insult in pride. Way to go, Tails. Way to go, Tails! Alright, back to 2. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is one that Sonic Team just nailed. They knew what to improve on, what to cut back. In terms of Sonic's motifs, this game set the mark. Space levels, vehicular warfare, eviler robots, the spooky level. He's gotta be there, man, if you want to capture that Sonic pizzazz. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite sprite? We'll always love this one, but they made a third, by God, so let's get our butts over there. What a jump! Sonic 1 and 2 were developed so similarly, but 3 feels like the next iteration of the Sonic formula. Not that it fundamentally changes much, more so that it retools a lot of what was working and bumps up the wow factor. Sonic felt a lot more older here. People see the chubbiness, but I see progression. In my eyes, 1 and 2 are preteen Sonic, and this is full-on teen Sonic. More responsibilities, bigger danger, gotta look out for Tails, and then this knucklehead shows up. Yeah, laugh it up, Fuzzball. We'll be seeing you later. 3 now has in-game cutscenes. They're short, but it's exciting to see the Sonic characters develop more and more here. Eggman 2, you actually get to see his evil advancement through Angel Island. Just look at the mid-level switch in Angel Island Zone. It feels weird saying that. For once it feels like you're on the clock against the Doctor, because you're following that destruction the whole way through. I don't go back to 3 a ton, but when I do, I am floored by everything running like clockwork. It's crazy that 1 and 3 run on the same system. 3 is just doing so much more here. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite sprite? But now we got the next main guy at our door. Knock knock, it's...
As far back as I can remember.
Strange energy.
What'd you say?
Mean!
Oh no.
Shut up! That's why it's called war.
It'll be good to get back to my island.
Now we're finally even, Sonic.
Do I look like I need your power?
I know that this isn't the direction he went in, but I genuinely used to believe Knuckles was the most level-headed of the bunch. A lot of this is from Scott Dreyer's performance in Adventure 2. He felt so much more older than everyone else. Like, all these kids were goofing around, but Knuckles had to rein them in. They had a job to do. It didn't help that he basically walked Sonic and Shadow up to the Emerald Shrine. Even back then, I wondered why he didn't just go super with them. I mean, he was that powerful. But if anything, I kinda miss his characterization in 3 and Knuckles the most. He was way cockier here, always grinning wide and ruining your day. For the time, he felt like a bigger, badder Sonic. You were definitely intruding on his domain in that one. When he finally clues in on what's going on and joins you, it feels awesome. Like, this guy is a menace, but now he's on our side. And he wants to kick some ass. This Knuckles feels like he would be even more annoying than Sonic, and that is wonderful. There was a moment in one of those Twitter takeovers where Knuckles said Sonic's magic token or whatever would be a crown to match his big ego. And that shit jolted me out of my podcast stupor. That sounds like something he would shout in Sonic 3. Just a total read on his twerpy little confidant. I like that Knuckles. I hope we get more of those competitive slam dunks. When Knuckles manages to annoy even Sonic the goddamn Hedgehog, he earns that shit-eating grin. But kinda like Sonic, there's many Knuckles I love. The powerful rascal of 3, the big brother of Adventure, and the angry goofball of the late 2000s. I don't hate the current Knuckles, his naivete is charming, if it doesn't get pushed too far. I never viewed him as lacking in intelligence, he just has his mind set on other things. Knuckles is loyal to his past, honors the sanctity of the Emerald, and is still willing to step in and assist if he can. He's not an idiot, we just don't live in the same world he does. Flex those muscles, Knux, you deserve it. You also deserve your own game, which we should check out right now. This is the one in the quad that I play the least, which is unfair, because it technically was part of 3. It's just that I prefer Sonic's speedy stages more than Knuckles' more dynamic platforming. Climbing and gliding is great, but as a kid it made me anxious, like I was supposed to be exploring all these sections instead of running and gunning it. Which you still can do, and I did. I just felt like I wasn't playing it correctly, and therefore mainly stick to 3. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite sprite. Favorite sprite. It's kind of hard and weird to say. I also haven't replayed this one in quite a bit, so I don't want to make any large comments here that just repeat my feelings for 3. But at least this gives us a spot to get deep into someone who's been missing from the main cast.
Glorious Eggman Empire! It's been on my vision board for years. No. Crush them all! You're pretty persistent. I was supposed to beat you this time.
Well,
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Back then, Eggman never really did much for me. He was the bad guy who did bad guy things and had to be stopped. End of story. He had comedy and charm in those classic games, with the plain, concentrated look on his face, which morphs into Looney Tunes rage whenever you give him a swift kick in the pod. He got kinda reserved in the adventure games, way more diabolical, less goofy. This is where I really didn't care for him. He was a threat, sure, but still just the bad guy. It wasn't until Mike Pollock joined the crew that I really got back into Eggman. He's got such a fun, grumbling cadence. In any other world, I couldn't imagine Eggman even talking to Sonic. But Pollock's voice makes their rivalry feel so fun. His silliness comes from his insanity. The dude knows what he wants and won't stop until he gets it. Hell, he can be so cartoonishly stubborn, you kinda want him to win, just to see that massive grin overtake his entire head. Eggman wants complete control. Sonic wants complete freedom. They're perfect for each other. See, Sonic is cool, but Eggman is the one man in the world who just does not give a shit. Maybe him and Metal Sonic. And Shadow. If anything, Eggman can take advantage of Sonic's showboating, keep that Hedgehog talking, prepare the lasers. The bombastic Eggman is the one I love to see now. He has that big mustache, make him act like he's twirling that sucker 24/7. He's the Eggman. Took that insult and threw it right back in Sonic's face. Alright, this is guilty admission time. Let's go there. I did not play Sonic CD. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I think I heard that, like, each stage had 3 different stages in it, and I got a little overwhelmed as a kid. So I never played it, and have still yet to. Metal Sonic's even in this one. What kind of Robo-Stan am I? But someone else was here too, and it feels a little wrong to bring up Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles without her.
Amy Rose is here. Sonic! Gotcha! Call it my girlish intuition. I'll fix that robot. No, get out of my way. Sonic Shadow.
Please, Amy.
Have no fear. Amy Rose is near. Good old Amy. Sonic's girlfriend. Am I allowed to say that? No? Okay, they're gonna execute me in 5 minutes, but until then, let's talk a bit about Amy the Hedgehog. Amy also gets a seat at the "oh shit, it's them" bench. It feels weird now if she's not in the game. Her and Tails should always be around Sonic. They help multiply his wow factor, mainly because they're always saying it. I think both incarnations of Amy have their place. Early Amy is pretty head over heels, and it overwrites a lot of what she does. You can say it's a bit one note, but this Amy is really fun, and funny. You can see a lot of this comedy in the Sonic X series. Lisa Ortiz did a great job pushing that aspect of her. She's silly, and also a bit insane, but that's fun, and these extreme emotions are right at home with Sonic's extreme nature. They're kind of perfect for each other. Current Amy is way more of a team player. She feels right at home with the Sonic heroes. She might have lost a bit of her silliness in the shuffle, but her reduction in blatant Sonic love gives us more time to explore other aspects of her. We're jumping way forward here, but those first parts of Frontiers with Amy really impressed me. Amy felt like she had her own things going on now. She wasn't gonna wait around for Sonic. She was gonna live her own life. But, you know, if Sonic said yes, she'd jump that ship in a heartbeat. She should just kick it with Shadow. That'll get the boy running. In a franchise that always strives to be earnest, Amy becomes a powerful character. She is just a fun, happy hedgehog. And you need that when you got these 2 hedges hogging the spotlight. Say cheese! So that's the Mega Collection, a valuable encyclopedia for my Sonic-hungry mind. Alright, detour time. I want to briefly touch on the comics for a bit, specifically Archie, because they were clearly a huge part of the franchise. And I have some explaining to do. Whoa, whoa, whoa! That Shadow looks like... Shadow! It is Shadow! I like Shadow, and if he's returning, well, maybe I arrived at the nick of time. Come on, Mom, give me $2 and let's get to reading. Haha! What is going on? Believe me, trying to jump into the story on issue 145 probably wasn't the brightest idea, but I was a child and an idiot. The issue is 3 things bounced me off. One was right there, staring me in the face. I was not digging the art style. It felt a little too superhero-y. The humans looked way too realistic, and everyone's eyes were so big and shiny. I couldn't take it seriously. I saw that art on the cover and thought that's what they'd be playing with. Nope. Number 2, I had no clue what was going on. The amount of new characters threw me for a loop, and if this was issue 145, then I had a lot of catching up to do on characters that I didn't even like to look at. The Archie comics seemed so large and sequential. It was all a bit imposing. And 3, I did recognize some characters, and they were not the ones from the video games. Okay, fine, they were in Sonic Spinball for like 4 pixels, but you know what I mean. They were from those old TV shows, which I steered clear from. Let's just quickly detour there as well. This was just unfortunate timing. 2 of these shows were already finished before I was born, and I would have been like 3 when the last one aired. I learned of these from the internet, watched clips on YouTube. Alice was way too goofy for me. Sonic felt like Woody Woodpecker. Tails was way too young. Remember, I was fresh off the heels of Shadow the goddamn Hedgehog. In my brain, Sonic was cool and edgy. Not this. But Robotnik was in all those memes, and for that I gave it a salute. Then there was SATAM. These are abbreviations, by the way. I'm not just casting spells over here. It held a bit more respect from me. There was an actual story here, and it was dark. But Sonic still sounded like a cartoon character. I appreciate Jalil's voice now. He had a job to do, and he damn well did it. But remember, I was here. I was hoping for some grimdark edge, not a well-thought-out dystopian fiction. It at least explained those characters I would see pop up in fan art. The girl with the vest, that sick-looking robot bunny, and that big old walrus. I haven't caught up on SATAM ever since, but people clearly hold a massive appreciation for what the show is trying to do with Sonic. And I can see why. Even now, fan projects are attempting to continue the story. I'll link them below if you want to check them out, because the passion is impressive, and I believe it. Finally, Sonic Underground. Best theme song. And Sonic had a family. Underground felt stuck between goofy and dark for me, and even as a child I felt their instruments were gimmicks. But the fact that Sonic had an actual brother and sister was really sick. The thing that survived the most here is the characters and the roles they filled, I'm pretty sure. I rarely hear people talk about the story of Underground, but maybe I'm looking in the wrong places. A bit too above ground. Come on, Manic, give me 5. So I wrapped all those shows into a neat little pre-2000s bow and rolled it in with the Archie comics as the Sonic stuff I would never understand. Stick to the games, kiddo, that's where Shadow is. Well, you know what I mean. Anywho, let's hold off on any more Archie for now. I need some room to breathe and some space to prepare for this next one. The first game I ever bought where the employee asked me twice if I was sure about this. I remember him reaching for different games behind the glass. Even when I was clearly pointing at it and he was holding it, he said, "This one? This one?" Well, he wasn't asking me, he was asking my mom. I was 10 years old. But she didn't know the ins and outs of the gaming world. It was just another little Sonic story her son could play with. Little did she know she was handing me the equivalent of a loaded gun. And I couldn't wait to put it in my mouth. Whoa, hey, before I start harming myself in front of you, I just wanted to mention that Sonic 06 is currently $5 digitally on the Xbox 360 Marketplace, which is closing permanently at the end of this July. This game is infamous in the annals of gaming history, and I wouldn't be surprised if disc copies start rising in a couple years. If you want to save yourself some future grief, maybe just make an Xbox account and shell out the $5. God, I feel like I'm ringing you guys for even saying that. Moving on! Sonic 2006, an HD, modern, realistic, mature Sonic game on the Xbox 360. The website said there would be hub worlds, side missions to complete. It's open world! There's even new people! A whole new adventure. Sonic's whole new adventure. I had convinced myself, developed this dream in my head, played it in my sleep. Oh, very clever. Just call it Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega. We all know what it's really supposed to be. I mean, it has to be. It's been 5 years. This wasn't Sonic's friend's adventure. This wasn't Shadow's adventure. This was Sonic's adventure. The third of his adventures. This was Sonic Adventure 3. Right? Build it up. Just try to. Enter the hyped-up mind of a 10-year-old kid waiting for the capstone of his favorite trilogy. I mean, imagine your Sonic Adventure 3. The best game you could possibly envision. And there, right behind the curtain, they were holding it for you. You finally got the damn Xbox. You finally waited 5 goddamn years. You were gonna show your cousin and your brother and your friends how much fun this guy was. Man, you couldn't construct a fantasy more succinct, more monumental, so laser-focused and primed specifically for the wishful thinking of a 10-year-old child. Don't you get it? This was gonna be the greatest game ever made. I actually, literally believe that this was Sonic Adventure 3. And that was it. I won't bore you with the details of what transpired in the interim of my crash course to reality. It was violent, it was pitiful. I circled the stages of grief like a vulture, picking apart emotions to sate my doctrinal disillusionment. Thanks, Thesaurus. I don't even blame Sega on some level. It was just bad luck. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Who did I think I was being 10 years old in 2006? I wasn't ready to face that kind of reality check. This was the worst game I had ever played. I didn't want to look at that smug blue prick ever again. This is where I swore off hedgehogs for good. But hey, Silver's in it!
Ableist trigger.
So gonna own you, Silver.
Okay.
No way! Where am I? What? Is this a joke? Come here, little fella.
What's the sit rep, Commander?
I must fight for the future. Come on, Iblis.
I'm an optimist.
Yes! It's no use!
I like Silver! He makes me happy. Maybe not back then, but over time I've come to love this dude. His naivete, his optimism. Silver's with Shadow and Tails in my, oh shit, it's them category. Whenever he pops up, I get excited. Let's dig into your brain a bit, Silver. Tell me about your life. We barely get it anywhere else these days. Silver, in my mind, has unknowable power. The fact that he goes super with the other two S-men just proves he's in the same league. That's probably a hotly contested opinion, but we gotta have a little drama in the canon, don't we? This guy can do some serious harm if someone could point him in the right direction and convince him they're evil, which it turns out is actually pretty easy. Okay, fine. I'm bigging it again, alright? The Silver in my head is cool. He just kind of waltzes in and looks pretty in all his actual game appearances. But that 06 power level creeps into my brain all the time. This dude feels important. I want him to help more. He doesn't need to save the day, but he can at least, hold the door open. Maybe he can walk Sonic and Shadow up to the last level like Knuckles does. Put me in, coach! One day, kid. I was trying to pin down why people have come to love Silver at this point, and I think it's this. He's sort of the powerful everyman of the Sonic franchise. He's warm and naive enough that you can see him interacting with any character. We also know just how strong he is, so we're not too worried whatever scenario he gets put in. He's kinda got OC vibes as well. Shadow is the overpowered OC we want to impress with, but Silver is the everyman OC who we want to explore with. You can place him anywhere, and he just kinda fits. And I think that's why we love him. He's new, and we get to experience so many points of the franchise through his eyes. I'm glad he survived 2006. I would have bet that he, out of anyone in the cast, would never see the light of day ever again. I'm proud of you, Silver. You and your sativa haircut. Good job, buddy. Well, we should probably talk about his mom, too.
Blaze the cat. Blue Hedgehog.
I am Percival.
I am a princess. I can't really say. You're so naive.
Where would Silver be without Blaze? Probably at the bottom of a ditch in the year 5000. I know very little about Blaze because I never played her games, but she's a princess from another dimension with fire powers. Not a bad start. I remember being bummed in 2005 because I didn't have a DS and there was a new Sonic character I had yet to integrate into my brain fiction. I really only learned about her in 2006 and she seemed alright. Her and Silver were like the new guys. That's probably why their story interested me so much. I think Blaze is a good solvent to the gang's antics. Focused, driven, level-headed. Strong too, she's got her own super form. Goes all Johnny Storm and gets her flame on. I know next to nothing about her own dimension. If Silver is from the future, is she too? I mean, they're best buds. They just meet up in the Flame City and decide to link up. Also, can she just portal through dimensions? If she's a princess, does she have responsibilities in the Blazoverse? I literally looked none of this up. What a good fan I am. And yet, I still like her. Maybe it's that Shadow mystery. I don't care where you crawled out of, ma'am. Just torch some shit and I'm good to go. Hopefully Blaze gets a bit more integrated into the games again. Silver too. Are they married? Whatever. Back to hell. Now, maybe I was a bit dramatic about my crash down to earth with Sonic 06, but I had to mention it because I really did leave the franchise here. I was way too embarrassed to keep playing. Sonic felt like a total joke to me. He missed any sort of mature landing I was hoping for as I exited my preteens. And that might be for the best. But I've grown up now, learned to keep my emotions in check. Mostly. My grief over this game has now morphed into curiosity, and I find myself thinking about it more and more. I now understand the whys and hows of Sonic 06's development. I understand that I set myself up for disappointment. And it's even turned into one of those so bad it's good games for me, but I'll save that bit for later. Replaying it now, it's still awful. It feels like a mod. Derogatory. I mean, really, a fan game built on some in-house engine in like Little Big Planet 3. It has all the pieces of a Sonic game, but man, none of them work. Some of these mechanics almost feel like tricks. You learn to avoid dash panels and items because they might clip you into tomorrow. And yet, the aspect I find myself gravitating towards more is the story. Which is also awful, but they were trying something here, and that's what makes even the worst Sonic games a tiny bit fun. It's that wild risk Sonic team rides on that I find so endearing. They really do just try anything. Favorite level?
The whole city's on fire.
Favorite song? Favorite line?
That tornado's carrying a car.
Okay, I can't talk about Sonic 06 any longer or I'm gonna melt into every YouTuber ever. So let's wave goodbye to Silver and get the heck out of here. So long, Silver. It literally can't get any worse than this. For the longest time, nothing was gonna bring me back to Sonic. I certainly wasn't going to play any more of his games, that's for sure. But little Jimmy at the playground pulled me aside one day. You know Jimmy, his dad works at Nintendo. Well, he said, get this, Sonic was gonna fight Mario at the Olympics. Yeah, right, no way. Sure, Shadow can hold a gun, but there's no way Sonic is gonna be in Smash. Oh my god, what is that? Sonic joins the brawl with 2 exclamation points. This was a real jaw-dropper. The impossible realized. I wasn't cognizant of the Smash scene. I didn't even know its name for the longest time. Whenever I went to a friend's house, I just asked, can we play that game with all the characters on screen fighting together? There's fire on the cover. Yeah, that one. Why am I losing? But with Sonic on the squad, my ears perked up. I meditated in the Smash Dojo, started learning all I could about the Mario Death Simulator. He could spin dash, he got a bounce pad, he could even turn into Super Sonic. By God, they really did it. So, besides some old Game Boys, I never had no Nintendo console growing up. This house was supplanted by the Chief, and he hates Italy. But for my birthday, just like anyone visiting their grandparents in 2007, I was suddenly gifted a Nintendo Wii out of nowhere, and Smash along with it. But they didn't make it easy for us, did they? Had to beat the whole damn game before Sonic showed up, just for him to smirk and wag his little finger at you. Yeah, where have you been, man? It's been 9 hours and 59 minutes and still no Hedgehog. I tried to main him. I failed. I staged climactic fights on Final Destination, Mario hanging off the edge, Sonic above. Thanks for the invite, fool! I took a lot of pictures. The one thing Brawl taught me was that despite it all, I still had some excitement over this guy. Part of me still kinda liked him. But I was keeping distant, setting healthy boundaries. My last breakup was too sudden. I needed to take this next one slowly. No wild purchases. Okay, fine, I also bought the damn Olympics game. I think these were like the only 2 games I had on my Wii. I'm kicking myself for never getting those storybook ones. And I don't even have a Wii anymore. Oh well. Yet again, I wanted to see Sonic and Mario hang out. Plus, one of my favorite aspects of Sonic is his gargantuan cast of characters. And they were all here too. I have like no memories of this game. And this was the only one I bought from the Olympic merch stand series. Okay, I do have one memory. From when I did the really fast dash game as Luigi. Okay, right now in real life, I want you to pretend like you're holding the Wii controllers in your hand. Notice how your fingers kind of curl around the remote, tips of the fingers pointing at your chest. Your nails are facing you. Now, imagine you're moving them up and down really fast. Fast enough to beat Sonic in an actual race. Imagine, if you will, that you're so focused on kicking Sonic's ass that your hands slowly drift together as you're pumping your arms. That one took a lot of bandages. Cut your nails, kids. Hey, let's log back into the internet, shall we? A hot new website called YouTube was springing up. Surely they would have some Sonic content. And they did. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the first real YouTuber I followed, the first internet personality, really, and that's this guy right here, Stephen Page, also known as Balena Productions. I swear I remember him from earlier than this, but Hedgehog debuted in 2008, so that's where we're starting. Besides the Paleolithic memes that were sprouting around in the mid-2000s, this was one of the first YouTube videos I found on my own. Stop the presses, people! Someone is making Sonic movies in Gmod. My prayers have been answered. Hedgehog was a trendsetter for me, and looking back at it now, I can see why it stood out. One was the drawn-on expressions. Among other shorts, it really made Sonic pop out because he looked, acted, and posed as I would expect him to. This was probably just a necessity at the time, but it really helped. 2 is Steven's Sonic voice. You can label it as Adventure Sonic, but to me it sounded like its own thing. Let's call it Domestic Drummond. A Sonic that sounded like a character, but who I could also believe as living in a house and mucking around on a computer. It functions especially well in his future animations and SFMs. It has that flair, but it can hold well in a conversation. 3rd, I think, is honestly just the modern setting. I was getting older. I wanted to see Sonic do more human things like me. I wanted to see him more as a person than a mascot. And I was getting that. I was instantly a Steven stan. I couldn't wait for what was coming next. In the early days, Steven had to take a break from YouTube. The news broke when I was visiting my grandparents in Sweden. I shook my brother awake at 1 in the morning and had him log me on to my grandpa's old computer, so I could say something. I left a comment. I forget the exacts, but it generally said, "You're awesome. Don't let anyone get you down. And probably, please make more stuff for me." A little tone deaf, but I had kid brain. That was the first comment I had ever written on the internet. Had my brother type it up for me and everything. But suddenly, years later, Steven returned. You're welcome, everybody. I couldn't be happier. And perfect timing as well, because our interests were matching. Here's everything I was loving in the early 2010s. Sonic, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, Jaws, Oblivion, Gmod parodies, Jurassic Park, Skyrim, Animated Sonic, Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park. I couldn't wait for that video. Oh, poor Steve. I bet Sonic in Jurassic Park has been chasing him around his entire life. Can we just let the guy off the hook for this one? You can rest now, Captain. You've earned it. I gotta commend Steve for the evolution of his 3D animation skills, as well as shot design, lighting, and even facial movement. He's really good at utilizing Sonic's face in a 3D environment. Some of his expressions look better than some of the stuff you find in the games. Now that I'm older, I enjoy his original work more than the movie parodies. I think they can stand on their own. But the stuff that he makes off the dome, that's really good. That's really good right there. That one, and that one too. It's crazy how far things have progressed since his early days of posing models in Gmod. Go watch his 700K sub-special. It's a funny little short that demonstrates how his technique has evolved over the years. Steve recently started up a Patreon. Everyone should head over there and chip in. I'm gonna put it in the description. His stuff is only getting better and better, and the best is yet to come. Shout out to one of the OG YouTubers. You're awesome, Steve. There's also 2 quick shout-outs I want to give for other YouTube series / creators I stumbled upon in this era. So let's quickly do that. Back to Soul. These were some of my favorite 2D Sonic animations because boy were they fluid, and they look so good. Itch You Can't Scratch is like permanently on all of my music playlists because of this video. With OVA shoutouts, now that's just aiming right at my heart. She's done a lot of great quick Sonic animations, but I think my favorite is her rough animatic of Knuckle Duster. This thing is so charming. I love the little storyline of Eggman and Tails threaded through, and Knuckles being so boisterous in his performance. See, this is the Sonic 3 Knuckles I was talking about. When he starts harmonizing with Sonic, I can't keep that smile off my face. Look at the two of them, they're pals, they're friends. It really captures the vibe of that classic era. Also, I later learned that this song was made by Danny Baranowski, the composer for Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, and Crypt of the Necrodancer. Is that him singing? Belt it out, Baranowski! Alright, one more stop on our YouTube adventure. Sonic Comics, with an X. Hello, furries! It's about time you got a seat at my table. Not like my own. I'm not a furry. I mean like other furry. The furry community as a whole. Don't look at me like that. There was a lot of furries in the Sonic fandom. Let's not kid ourselves. And I was not one of them. But I watched one of them, and I knew they were a furry. Because I could see their feet! Domestic Sonic again! But this time, way less cynical. I remember this was when I started noticing the characters drawn in a much more friendlier way. More softer, more adorable. Also, when I started noticing Silver show up in these things. Hi, Silver. These videos by Moby and Angel always inspired me, because they were drawn in paint and stitched together in Movie Maker. I have those. I could do that. And if I did, it didn't have to be, like, gross or mean or crazy like every satire I saw on the internet at that time. It could just be kinda nice, and that's okay. Shout out to the furries. These 3 creators sort of kicked off my Sonic YouTube hunt. A lot of great memories on there. Okay, let's just dive first into the worst of it. Here we go. This was sometime in 2007. We took a family vacation to Vegas, the city of lights. So, little history. Sega has a large arcade presence in Japan, RIP, but they also tried to settle in the US as well, with the help of Steven Spielberg, no joke, through a joint venture that combined both Universal and DreamWorks. Sega began expanding their arcades into the US of A, with their flagship center, GameWorks, on the Las Vegas Strip. Sega had all the tech. They had UFO machines and arcade cabinets galore, and they did not shy away from their old branding. When I stepped in there, it was a huge shock. I had never seen so much public Sonic before. Just plastered everywhere, and trapped on every corner inside those massive claw machines. Mountains of Sonic plush just toppling over each other. So, I played and bagged me a Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow. Oh god, yes, Shadow. I don't have any pictures of these guys, and they are long since gone. But I know that they were the Sonic X ones. How? Because believe it or not, someone has a video on YouTube from 2007. Not of me, that would be weird. But 2 months after my trip, winning those same exact plushies. Sonic Jerry, I owe you my life. And you know I'm linking him in the description. I never remembered which plushes I got until this video, and the memories came flooding back to me. To be honest, I didn't play with these as much as I just hurled them at my brother, but I still felt special owning both Sonic Heroes and Shadow the Hedgehog. What timing, huh? Sonic 06 might have scarred me, but the admiration was creeping its way back in. Alright, we've strayed too far. Let's get back to the games. I should probably mention this one too, a racing game where Sonic uses his legs. Ooh, he already did that, but now I could do it while I used my legs. On the go. To the couch, where I sat down and played Sonic Rivals. This was alright. I wanted Sonic on the go and missed out on the Advance series, but this wasn't it. And sure, they talked to each other, but not with their voices. You Smeckledorfed me, Sega, but at least I can collect some shiny cards. Also, apparently I bought this one digitally in 2013. But I have no memory of ever playing it. And they even talk in that one, with their voices! God, Adam, what are you doing? Alright, back to 2008. What else was going on? Oh god, here we go again. This was the second only Archie comic I ever owned. Sonic and Tails duking it out on the cover. I thought, well, I've never seen this before. And then I thought, I've never seen any of these people before. There's a pink Knuckles. Tails has, like, real parents? Oh god, it's happening all over again. Sonic and Tails beating each other up. I never thought I'd see the day, and it kinda rocks. Looks like a lot of deep interpersonal drama is going on here. Too bad Mini Adam is too lazy to delve any further. So long, intriguing storyline. My kid brain had made up its mind. You know how kid brain gets. All joking aside, this issue is very compelling. I've never seen Sonic act like this, nor Tails, and it feels like it's infringing on those mascot characteristics in a twisted way, and I kinda love it. I do want to know how this goes down, since I never thought I'd see the day. Maybe that's a good point for me to jump back into, I have no idea. But I will admit, as I'm older, this is very interesting. The final thing I want to say about Archie Sonic is this. It seems to have some sturdy legs in the fandom. People love this thing. Mini Adam was never going to attempt it, but I think a larger, stronger Adam has a shot at taking this thing in. I'm not writing Archie off yet. He's sitting there, waiting for me. Maybe there's a beginner's guide out there I can follow. There's gotta be. Archie, you're not off the hook yet. But with 2008 coming to a close, I've said like but so many times, I had rounded out my appreciation for Sonic. I was moving on to other things now. At the time, I thought he was out of my age range. I wanted blood, guts, and gore. Not Tails. I could never do that to Tails. But Smash, the Olympics, even those damn stuffed animals kept me on my toes. There was some childhood love buried deep in my cold, dead heart, and it began to emerge in my next era. But not immediately. Let's get into it.
Hey, I'll play with you some other time.
There was a new Sonic coming out. He turned into a werewolf this time. Yeah, no thanks. Not falling for it. I was still pouting, holding off any mainline Sonic games. The internet was telling me this was the worst one yet. It got even worse? Thank God I jumped ship. Good thing I listened to these people I never even knew and had no value in any of their opinions. Sorry, Sonic Unleashed. And you know, strangely enough, this is the one I want to try the most now. Like, out of all the ones I skip, this one intrigues me. I do own it digitally. Maybe one day. But back to my Sonic strike, I refused to bend the knee. Still, Smash had reawakened my embarrassing love for Sonic. I reminisced, remembered how his games used to play. I grappled with ways to return to the good old days. I ended up pirating Sonic Adventure DX for my PC, only for it to play the Windy Hill music on every single stage. What a weird specific glitch, and oh my god, I'm not the only one! Holy shit, I literally just learned this while writing this section. That is incredible. There are dozens of us. Dozens! Also, tiny side note, I did end up getting a copy of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle to play on my Wii, but even then I felt like I was struggling with the GameCube controller and never went all the way with it. Sonic wasn't keeping all my attention. I had my Xbox. I was moving on to other things, like Halo and Doritos Crash Course. Yeah, I love the arcade marketplace. A lot of great indie appearances made their debut there. But that's where they also shoveled more Sonic games. Old Sonic games. Just what I was looking for. We're back, baby! And this won't be the last time, too. I don't know why I singled Captain Sequel out in 09, but maybe I had flashbacks to those spike pits in the first one. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was repurchased on my Xbox account, with save states. Thank God. Although, now I was beginning to not need them. Not too much. I'm not that good, but I think on this re-release I started really learning how 2D Sonic played. My appreciation grew immensely, and I took notes of all the things that I was loving, things that I've already listed earlier, so I won't take any more time here. Just... God, what a good game. It was like a shot of adrenaline, but I needed more. What I really wanted was to play SA1. My nostalgia was clearly aching for the first game I witnessed, and Windy Hill just got so annoying, and out of nowhere, my opportunity came. Oh, we are so back. This was it! This was the game I remembered watching as a kid, but now no one could do the noble thing and take the controller away from me. Now I had free reign over Mystic Rune and Station Square. Now there was no more Windy Hill constantly. What a relief. I honestly wasn't expecting it. When I read about the release, it felt like it was made for me. They heard my cries. They heard Windy Hill echoing through my PC and said, no more! I had a great time reliving my childhood memories with a hefty dose of reality. I could see the cracks now, truthfully. I had to admit it. But my excitement overwhelmed any plans of giving up, and I gave this game a full run-through. My goal was to actually collect all emblems this time, and I got pretty damn far, but I ran out of steam late in the year and never completed it. Well, not yet. But hold on to your hedgehogs, folks, because the fine folks at Sega are dumping out another game on XBLA, and this one we've all been waiting for. Now that I was keeping up on Sonic news again, I found out they were making a real-ass sequel to the classic games. And now that I was replaying some of those, I was excited to see what they were gonna come up with. It would be like classic Sonic, but like modern. See, he's tall. They got a homing attack. June is doing the soundtrack. Bro, could it be? Could this really be Sonic 4? It's here? Now? Episode 1? What does that mean? I picked it up on release, gave it a full playthrough, and came out with a resounding meh. I don't think it is as awful as people say now. I actually kind of dug classic Sonic with a homing attack, but it felt like they went so hard on the replication of 1 that it came out feeling a bit empty. I don't think you can make another Sonic 1 anymore. There's just too much pizzazz, too many characters. We've moved past the impressiveness of just having him go fast. I want to see Tails, damn it. I replayed this again recently and still left with ye old meh. It functions, it works. In anyone's I played every Sonic game while they dipped me in a vat of acid video, this will be the one they just gotta get through. I never played the sequel, and that one has Tails. And Metal Sonic. What's wrong with me? Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite sprite? Now remember, this was the last mainline Sonic game I played since Sonic 06, and it left me with the disappointment I was anticipating. Stop trying the new ones, I told myself. Stick to the old. Grow comfortable in your nostalgia, kid. They ain't making good ones anymore. And then they tricked me. It was a new one, but it was technically also the old ones? Does this sneak past my stupid rules? Ugh. I saw the trailers for this and said, oh no you don't. It's too good to be true. Adventure 1, Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes? Those are just some delicious coats of paint, but there's some bad game hiding underneath, I just know it. I even waited on this one. Played it the next year. Reviews were pretty good? Silver's in it too? Okay, fine. Let's give it a shot. And this is my second favorite Sonic game. Of all time. I did not just like it, I loved it. 100%ed it. Got all achievements, music tracks, red rings. Even snuck out the fully modeled trophies that they literally hid under the floorboards. Why did they do that? I bet these come back in the remaster. I think I replayed this more than Sonic Adventures. You heard me, with an S. I found the modern levels of Generations to be so much fun. I replayed them even after getting all the achievements. Just to, you know, have fun. I haven't done that since Sonic Adventures. And I haven't really done that with any Sonic game since. Whatever modern iteration of Sonic they landed on for this release, I was really digging it. I even found myself leaning into the boosting. I like to boost around. This is probably why I should give Unleashed a shot. Side note, in future games, do not drown out the game's soundtrack during a boost. That is criminal. Oh yeah, and the soundtrack. Holy smokes, these remixes are really good. And I'm including the DS ones with that. Cash Cash's remix of Speed Highway goes hard. I'm almost 30. And that remix of Silver's battle theme is so dirty. Ugh. This is a throwaway Sonic 06 battle theme, and it sounds straight up evil here. I love it all. Might be up there in best Sonic soundtrack. Although that tier list would be a literal bloodbath that I don't want to involve myself in. I mean, how do you rank 30 S's? Even better, they bring back, like, the best track from every game that you can listen to as you boost through levels. I did this a lot in my replays. It's funny how just changing the music of a stage can make it feel like a new experience. That's how strong a lot of these songs are. Story-wise, well, there is no story. But as I said before, you can slip that right by me if everyone is here. And they are. Even Silver the Hedgehog, from Sonic the Hedgehog, 2006, the worst game I have ever played. I'd be eating my own air shoe right now if I bet this game would be left in the dust. But it's here, and it's good. It's my favorite level in the entire game. I sped through this level so goddamn much, I got into the habit of timing my run to specific portions of the stage music. I gotta catch my breath. Maybe it's just the disillusionment of it all. How could a scene that gave me so much turmoil in my childhood return to make me revel in the joys of Boost? But Crisis City was awesome. And funny enough, my other two favorite levels are from the games I didn't even play. Unleashed and Colors are here. I know nothing about these releases, but I played those modern stages day after day. Alright, I played the start of Planet Wisp day after day, I'll admit that. I think the classic zones are well executed too. I was just drawn to the more high thrills and intense action of the modern iterations. I adored this game. Replayed it recently and still had a blast. Finally beat that final boss without getting hit too. That was a full achievement list 10 years in the making. I am beyond hyped for the remaster. And even saying that now, I know I'm setting myself up for disappointment. But whatever, Sonic Generations is fantastic. I love it to all hell. And between my mainline neglect, it was waiting for me when I finally decided to come up for air. This might not have gotten me back into Sonic, but it left me with a great blue taste in my mouth. Ew. Favorite level? Favorite song? Favorite line?
Enjoy your future!
Once again, I was grinding my metal surfboard across the slopes of City Escape. And perfect timing too, because guess what I picked up 2 months later? Here we go again. I was primed this time. City Escape was in my veins. Get me off the helicopter. I think I'm finally ready to earn my D rank. I thought they did a good job with this re-release. Even managed to get it in widescreen this time. Back in 2012, I learned that this game could be pretty tough. I was struggling on those later space stages, and Tails' mech still made me groan. But I could replay Sonic and Shadow stages over and over again, in high definition. And that was enough for me. Race the jets, jump the rocket, slide the metal chimney? D rank, whatever. Just grab the animals and get to Chao Garden, which I should probably delve into. Your Honor, you requested that I speak the truth, and so I will give it to you. Just remember, you asked for this. I did not care for the Chao Garden. Not in a bad way, I don't think it's bad. I just don't really care about it, it's not my thing. It seems cool, and a lot of people like it, and nothing I say in this courtroom should take away from that. It's just, I don't know, it seemed like a lot of work.
Mr. Adam, the responsibility of your Chao is not something you can return. Once you hatch the egg, you must care for it. For life. You did hatch the egg, correct?
Yeah, I threw it against the wall. What, it opened? Hey, he looked pretty okay.
Please tell me you at least fed your Chao.
They're supposed to eat? What do they need, like hot dogs or something?
What of his education? You sent him to school, correct?
Of course not. You know how long that takes? Gotta walk them back and forth every stage. I just kept them near the pool in my garden.
He could fall in.
I sure hope so. How else is he gonna get his swim up? He tried to crawl out, but I kept him doggy paddling, don't you worry.
Dear God, we will be taking custody of your dear little Chao. What was his name?
You could name them?
Ugh, kill him.
No, wait! Let's move on. And further belittle education, because with this next thing out, I sure wasn't paying attention in class. We're halfway through high school now, and class is getting boring. I can't do any more Flappy Bird, I need a new distraction. Well, how about another re-release of Sonic 2? This time on my ding-dang phone. This is where my 2D Sonic training got serious. I would play this port all the time. If there was a moment to kill, this is one of my go-to distractions. A remake from the ground up, built in the Retro engine by longtime Sonic maniacs Christian Whitehead and Simon Tomley. Ooh, geez, I hope they get to work on something else. It felt so darn smooth, and I was playing better than ever before. That being said, I've yet to master a fresh Sonic 2 run. I always got to Wing Fortress, where I would almost consistently fall off with a fat bank of 0 lives left. Oh well, still had a blast, and still didn't have to sit through Algebra 2. Suck it, math! And so my nostalgic era was at its apex. I could play my old favorites in high definition, attempt their beautifully remixed stages and generations, and even nostalgia myself on the go with the iOS port. For now, I was set. I heard a redesign was on the horizon, and I thought, nah, I'm good, and yet again bowed out with my fond memories for the foreseeable future. Also, I'll quickly say this part. I bought this in a bundle, because Heavy was in it. I played it once and kicked my friend's ass! Suck it, Tyler! Look at that score. He was even Sonic. What an idiot. Whew! Alright. It's been a fat minute. I feel like we're a bit closer now, right? Maybe a little sense of trust growing? Look, I need you to trust me if we're gonna move on to this next bit. You gotta promise to be cool about this, okay? Don't go telling anyone. Maybe it's finally time to talk about, you know, my Sonic AU. AU stands for, oh, please don't do this! It also stands for Alternate Universe, a fanfiction term which refers to a story or setting that deviates from the official canon. Like if you had a Mario story where Mario was the bad guy, or a Sonic story where everyone wanted to make love to Shadow. I think that one already exists, and it's called reality. Before I went off to college, while I was practicing some creative writing of my own, I tried to expand on fictional settings that I already enjoyed, like a Fallout story that followed a ghoul in Louisiana, or a Dark Souls folktale about who the crestfallen warrior was before he got all, pouty. You know, hard-hitting settings drenched in apocalyptic atmosphere, quiet stuff, somber stuff that showed how mature my writing could be. But of course, only a year prior, I had this bouncing around in my head. So I thought, maybe to practice some more, I'd design my own Sonic setting, one that I was always wishing for as a kid. And I told no one. For 10 years, until today. So keep cool. Metropolis, is what I called it, was an expansion on one of my favorite aspects of the Sonic franchise. The robots! Metal Sonic is my number one, but like every other Sonic fan, I also got to thinking of Metal Tails, Metal Knuckles, Metal Amy, etc., etc. What if they had their own heroes team? What would they get up to? Better yet, where would they hang out? So I imagined a city filled with every robotic enemy from the franchise. Metropolis. I don't think they've used that before, right? But I didn't want it to be dystopian. I wanted it to be like New York City, baby! I'm working here, hey, come on! What I mean by this is I wanted these robots to actually live here, have jobs, grab lunch, carpool to work, yada yada yada. And whoever got sent here would have free will. Why? I don't know. Maybe just for Eggman to show off. But once I saw Metropolis, I didn't want Metal Sonic anymore. The whole gang seemed way too powerful. I wanted some misfits. I needed some outsiders. I swapped them out with entirely new characters, and put a Gamma in there for good measure. They would form a ragtag alliance and defend Metropolis from any threats that came its way. These were my OCs. This was their city. I thought of these guys whenever I would re-listen to the soundtracks. I would stage fight scenes in my mind to some of the harder tracks. They were basically superheroes in their own arena. I never even intended for Sonic to show up, or any of the Sonic heroes for that matter. I liked it focusing on just them. Well, them and Metal Sonic, he had to be there, and he didn't like him either. Well, Father, since we're both here in the confessional, I think I better explain who these people were.
What about the body?
It's underneath the floorboards. Can I talk about my OCs? The Sonic robot would be a repurposed museum display for a Sonic exhibit at a museum, who actually believed he was Sonic, until a couple hits to the head sent him crashing back down to reality. His nickname was Scrap Metal, I think. That was the only name I remembered from this whole AU 10 years ago. The Tails robot was, well, let's be completely honest, it was just Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. Yeah, I envisioned him as a burnout with an attitude, and also no tails. He would have 2 rockets in his back that would let him boost around areas. And I have no doubt that there was some weed jokes written in there. Knuckles, I remembered, was an actual character. He was supposed to be Mecha Knuckles. You know, the gray one with the yellow eyes, but he was all grown up. And also he was British. That I still can't explain, but he would hang around bars and get drunk a lot. He would also punch hard, big surprise. The Metal Amy was a weird one. I imagined her as a fanatically enthusiastic surgeon. Robot surgeon. Fine, mechanic. She loved poring over schematics, dissecting robo-corpses, just an all-around psycho. Lastly, the Gamma ripoff was literally just Omega, but somehow even more of a robot. He was like their tank. He could hit harder than Knuckles and get hit too. Not very exciting. But who were they fighting? For their adversaries, I envisioned a corrupt family who controlled the city, comprised of all the different versions of Metal Sonic. There was Metal Sonic at the top. He was just Scrap Metal's version of Shadow in this story. A real stoic nemesis. He was also talking here too. That's probably the worst thing I've done so far. In your eyes.
Adam, I don't play video games.
Father, just hold the questions, okay? Mecha Sonic was like the kingpin of the ground teams, busting down doors and shaking down citizens for cash. He probably also had a suit, I'm guessing. Silver Sonic, the dude from Sonic 2, was supposed to be a slimy strategist who sought to overthrow his brothers and become the true leader. I even had the Rocket Metal in there from Sonic Fighters, and he was on drugs. Oh, I forgot to hold up the sign to laugh. Sorry, guys. But of course, I also featured my boy Neo Metal Sonic as his own robot. I remember he was like the circus freak of the family, who lived at an actual circus. But he was his own little psycho as well. Neo was basically robot Hannibal Lecter. You gotta get a little grimdark in there somewhere. From what I recall, I outlined and wrote out the entire first act of the story, but never got farther than that. But those characters always occupied a bit of my brain space, especially when I would listen to those soundtracks again. And, if I must admit, I had a lot of fun writing it. Out of all my video game AUs, it was the one I was most excited to write, but I was way too embarrassed to admit that. I think it's because I had grown up so much with the franchise, I was finally putting pen to paper on all those childhood Metal Sonic fantasies I desperately desired. Finally, Metal Sonic would get the fame he deserved. Right, Father?
The police are waiting outside.
Alright, well then I'm not leaving. Metropolis was my silly little AU. It got lost on some hard drive and I still haven't found it. But I will keep searching. But once that fanfiction was finally out of my brain, it felt like Sonic's nostalgia had come to an end. Like I finally got it out of my system. And so, yet again, I moved forward on my own. Sayonara, Sonic, the franchise. This was my biggest gap. Between 2013 and 2017, I was not looking into the franchise. Sonic Boom was coming out, and there was no way I was touching that. Worse than Sonic 06, they say. Yeah, I think some people need to replay Sonic 06 and get their brain checked. Granted, I never did play that Sonic Boom catastrophe, because it was on the Wii U, and and I didn't have that shit. I don't know if people remember, but it was pretty quiet during these years for Sonic. Besides the boom stuff, not much else came out. Folks were in a Sonic drought. You had Lost World in 2013, and that was kinda it. Just reminisce on that last game while Knuckles gets jacked. We're gonna be here a while. Which was sort of perfect for me, cause I left for college and didn't think about that shit for a while. I had other things going on. But ooh, they had something cooking up, didn't they? Perfecting it in the kitchen, ready to tease it out at our most ravenous. Remember the trailer? Remember the crowd? We were truly primed for Sonic Mania. I always laughed seeing the crowd pop for Knuckles. I think it had just been too long. We missed our angry little boy. A new 2D Sonic game, built from the ground up by the guys who made those iOS ports? Yes, please. That was enough for me to go on. It had been nearly 5 years. I was itching to come back, and this seemed like my ticket in. And boy, did it linger. This is my third favorite Sonic game. It's difficult for me to rank the adventure games because they're so drenched in nostalgic bias, so just imagine that they're the presiding judges over the Adam has barely played any Sonic games tier list. When this game came out, my mind was blown. I had fully kept my expectations as low as possible. I remember the horrors. Ooh. But this thing was absolutely a labor of love, and it does more than show. It beams, it shines. This thing loves Sonic more than me, more than you. More than generations, I'd say. And what is there to say? I'll try to keep it short because this is another one of those everyone's given their take games. The soft, buttery spread of smoothness oozes through this game. This sentence might also get me thrown in Sonic jail, but I think it plays better than the originals. Which is funny, because now they've all been remade in the retro engine. And how about that rowdy color palette? Whew, this thing just loves popping out at you. Even the classic stages have been given a new coat of paint. Something I was not ready for was the soundtrack. T. Lopes, another extract from the Sonic community, made these songs so kinetic. They just hammer on endlessly as you go at Mach speeds. You want to fist pump the air on every loop, bro. His remixes for the old stages are the only way I can listen to these songs now. I can't go back. They're just too good. And even the tracks for the entirely new zones are incredible. They match the tone of the soundtrack perfectly. None of them feel out of place among the litany of classic songs. All from different Sonic games. All from different composers. That's quite the feat. Good job, dude. That's incredible. He's definitely listening right now. But let's quickly talk about those new stages, because they too feel perfectly in place with the rest of the redesigns. I know we only have 4, but they're well designed, okay? I was worried that these would be egregiously different, that I would jump from Green Hill to Chemical Plant, and then land on the fan level. Looky look, someone modded in their wacky waste dump zone into Sonic Mania. Oh good. But these are some of my favorite levels. Studiopolis and Press Garden in particular have so much character within them. I think it's a challenge to make a zone that feels totally fresh these days. You get a lot of Green Hill to Emerald Hill to Splash Hill. It gets difficult to differentiate. I mean, just look at Generations. Count how many green and city levels you run through in that. Almost every zone has an analog to a previous one. But these two levels feel fresh. There was never an 80s TV studio level, nor a Japanese garden propaganda center. Screw it, we're doing it. Let's roll it on to another shoutout. Tyson Hess for his outstanding animation in the intro of this game, and also for his work as Android 16 in the Cell Saga. What a trooper. The movement and characterization of these dudes in just the intro alone is so high-wired. He also nailed the cute factor that classic Sonic once had, at least from his Japanese box art. I don't care too much if this guy talks, but these guys can never talk. And why should they? Their movement tells you everything about them. Shouts out for saving us during the Sonic movie. And I'm still waiting for my commission from 64X, buddy. Get on it. Favorite level. Favorite song. Favorite sprite. Alright, the internet is telling me to wrap it up. I think they've heard this all before. Looking back now, I can't believe Sonic Mania happened, and that it was pulled off so well. A number of things could have gone wrong here, or felt out of place. Maybe it was the hands-off attitude from Sega, not too many cooks in the kitchen, just huge Sonic nerds making their dream game. Our dream game. It's projects like this that give me hope, that your fan passion for a series can lead you to making that impossible game in your head, and when paired with other eager artists, together you can nail something that reverberates the beating heart of the community. This game loves Sonic, and it clearly shows. Whew! Alright, Sega, what are you up to? Sonic Generations 2? Oh, yeah! Just kidding, I was smart. I still knew to steer clear. Well, at least for now. Instead, I want to take you on another strange stop in my Sonic timeline. 2 whole years in the future, landing on one fateful night, with a lot of alcohol. If you're crashing on my couch, then we gotta play something. It's getting late.
Whoa, you have that horrible Sonic game?
You'll have to be more specific.
Right there, the one for the 360.
Yep, Sonic 06. You know, I never beat this game.
Wanna try and beat it now? Man, how are you supposed to get through any of this?
Yeah, you gotta clear like 6 more stages with the rest of his friends.
We can do this.
Dude, I feel like I'm getting worse. I don't even know why. Hand me my drink.
You got soft hands, brother. Here, let me try. Okay, stick left for the shortest path, but to the right is an eagle statue.
Well, nothing's happening.
Just wait. A platform is supposed to appear to get to the spring, or you could just head to the spring.
I see it.
Well, don't jump off. Ugh, I hate this guy so much.
Hey, it's Silver!
He sucks.
You suck!
Come on, Shadow, move it.
Yes, got it!
We did it. I can't believe we beat it.
Well, we still gotta beat the final boss.
The what? He's an animal. Why would she kiss him?
Because she needed to give him power or whatever.
But she's a human being.
Bro, just focus on the goddamn boss. It's done. I can't believe it's over. I finally beat the last story of Sonic 06.
Are you proud?
No! And I'm still not. I tried to look up when in 2019 I actually did complete this. And it looks like it was somewhere around January 1st, 1753. Man, that boss was a lot longer than I thought. Alright, we need a palate cleanser. Literally. Oh god, is this centered right? Oh, whatever. Look who we got. The man himself. Sonic. We got Sonic, we got Knuckles, we got Gold Rings, Emerald, Sonic, Tails, and Shadow. I know where he's going. Oh, it says on here, to open lift tab. Oh, okay. Oh, there we are. I got a little Tails residue on here. Sorry, buddy. These things might be a little too fast for me, so we gotta be careful. Oh my god, look. A little bit of Tails fluff. I'm gonna go feed this to my dog. Alright, it's time to get blasted. Hold on, it's time to get blasted. Is that it? I got like three Knuckles? That's not even assorted. Let's try Knuckles first. I haven't had gummies in like 50 years. These things are so chewy. It's like all over my teeth. I don't even want to put another one in my mouth. You know. Whoa! I think I see a Shadow in there. Get ready, stomach, I'm going in. God, I got a lot of excuse me. I got a lot of freaking Sonics in here. All right, I'm about to ingest the ultimate life form. Here we go. I think he's great. Hey, do you like these chewy noises? I can't eat Tails. These all kind of taste the same. Woo! Oh my god, guys. We got rings this time. Always put metal in your mouth, children. Here we go. Was that all the flavors? Like, did we get them all? Did we nail them? We try. Oh, I didn't try Tails. Should I? We'll do it. We'll do it. I wanna fly high into my mouth. Oh, he's definitely orange. Okay, I think we did do. There's grape, orange, Sonic, green, lemon, Knuckles, and then Sonic again. Remember, kids, make sure you chew on my head softly. I feel everything. Sonic, you might be fast, but you don't make a good gummy. All right, let's do a gummy suicide. Here we go. It's like glue. There's blood. I think there's blood. All right. While I go pump my stomach, let's jump 2019 and settle into the year 2020, the year of the Sonic movie and other things. Leaks were showing, trailers were coming out. Let's dig into it. Blah, blah, blah. Weird Sonic, great redesign, thanks Tyson, nice Kaji. This had to be bad, right? After going through everything else, I mean, there's no way this could be remotely good. I feel like I've said that 30 times by now. So a Sonic movie was coming out. On Valentine's Day, of all things. I wasn't planning on seeing this, but my best buddy Talon had a day off, and we thought, what the hell? Maybe we can laugh at it. And we did. But even if you're laughing at something bad, you're still enjoying it a little. I feel kinda weird critiquing this film. I hesitate to call it a kids movie, as all ages were present in the theater. but it was certainly marketed and developed that way. But a kid's movie still has to be fun, and anyone can enjoy a bit of fun here and there, can't they? I think if they had to force a celebrity voice on a character, they nailed it here. Ben Schwartz as Sonic pulls it off effortlessly. He feels young, fun, and that tad bit annoying as I expected him to be. But he's got a good heart, come on! That's Sonic! Really good job by Ben, no complaints here. I bet he's watching this too. However, the real star of this movie is Jim Carrey as Eggman, and he is not playing Eggman, he's doing his own thing, and boy, was that the right move! I think if they forced Jimmy into a box, the performance would have felt tacked on. I bet you they had a go wild clause in his contract, because he is just being Jim Carrey in this, and no one stopped him. And it's clear he loved it too, because he came back for 2 damn sequels. In his retirement. If they said keep it low and subdued, I think this guy would have been dead and gone by the credits. Overall, it's barely a Sonic movie. More of a cartoon character in the real-world simulator, which James Marsden is clearly a master at. But yet again, I think that was the right move. Implementing too much of Sonic's wacky world would have made this pretty bloated on its first release. Start from scratch, make your own backstory, throw in some owls for good measure. What? It falls in line with many of my opinions on the Sonic franchise. If I examine it critically, it can be picked apart pretty easily. But I try to live off the vibe these days. Ride the Sonic wave, baby. And would kid me like it? Absolutely. Did adult me like it? Sure, it was silly. I had a good time. The crazy thing is, this movie of all things really spearheaded the video game movies renaissance we're seeing now. Weird to think that if Sonic the Hedgehog didn't perform well, we might not have gotten the Last of Us TV series. Ain't life funny? In the end, I left the movie theater in a good state. That little Sonic movie had stirred some youthful energy within me. Yet again, I was reminiscing on that blue little hedgehog. It's been 3 years since my last Sonic game, and I haven't tried a modern one in like ages. What's this? Forces is like $5 right now? Alright, let's just try it out. And then promptly put it down. I did try to grin and bear it through Forces. As I always say, I love that colorful cast, and they were all here this time. Even classic Sonic? What? The movies made me yearning to see Sonic hang out with his buddies again. I relish a lot of their interactions. But even I couldn't make it through these cutscenes. What is the tone here? They're like stuck between grim dystopia and silly adventure. I think they should have just gone full 06 on this one and leaned into the drama. Knuckles should be cradling a blown-up Vector in a trench somewhere. Make that quote really sink in. Also, who's the genius who put Knuckles in charge? The real draw of this one was you got to make your own OC. We're finally jumping into the Society of Sonic. The world of the Mobians, which is actually not their name anymore, but now they have no signifier, so I'm just gonna keep using Mobians. I made my Sinnoh, gave him a gun, met Shadow 2.0, and then dropped it. The levels weren't doing anything for me, nor Infinite, the OC extraordinaire. I'm still kinda curious what goes down in this game, because it's the starting point for the IDW Comics, and I really want to read those. Maybe I'll take a shot and beat it one day. It seemed pretty damn easy. This was like the 3rd time where I attempted modern Sonic and left it disappointed. If anything, it just hammered home that this series wasn't for me anymore. But the characters were. I was still liking these guys, even as I got older. Now, the reason we watched the Sonic movie on that fateful day in February was actually because we had nothing left to do after going game hunting. And at those stores, I picked up my first box of LEGO Dimensions, the little portal one. I thought it was cool, and more pop culture friends were stashed inside. So I started amassing more and more. And eventually, I remembered they actually made Sonic into a Lego. And since I was now collecting a freakish amount of dimensions, I nabbed myself a box. Sonic minifigure! That was pretty sick, and he came with his own level. My mind isn't sharp on these, but I recall being impressed that they managed to shove so much Sonic fan service into this little pack. They also attempted to replicate Sonic's gameplay in Lego form. It sorta worked. I was just excited to have an actual Sonic minifigure. Never thought I'd see the day. I should probably also mention 2 other plastic encounters, because unfortunately I love Lego now. Sorry. This set didn't wow me, and it was a tedious build, but I was just happy they mustered up the courage and made another Sonic set, with another Sonic figure, who looked pretty similar. Oh well. Lots of annoying stickers, and Eggman was brick built. Why would you do that? Well, now I know why, because they were holding it aside for this. Okay, now I was hyped. It was no longer just luck. They were really making Sonic the Hedgehog Lego. And it wasn't like the stupid Mario sets, thank God. We were getting more honest-to-God minifigures. Tails, Amy, and Eggman. There you are. I don't think they could have sold these without some sort of play feature, and the one they gave it doesn't really work. But I was just here for the figs, man. And some of the models. I got the Death Egg robot, I got the Tornado, and now I even own Shadow's big fat hog. I really hope they make more of these. Where's my silver minifigure? Looking back now, I think that idea set got really shafted. I wonder if the main theme was already in production, but the idea set was on its way too, and there was no way to coordinate. I'm still glad it happened. If the designer was able to work with what we got now, I think they'd make something pretty amazing. Alright, I learned of this later in the timeline, but this was big in the late 2010s, so I want to highlight it here. Let's get memeing.
Why is this happening?
I really extend this section to Sonic's social media team. Some of you might remember Aaron Weber, who took over Sonic's Twitter account in 2015 and steered it in the right direction. Boom was not doing Sonic any favors, and people were excited to rip him apart again. But soon, Sonic became self-referential. Sonic now sorta knew some of his games sucked. He understood the irony of his franchise. This most likely pissed the fans off, but the general audience was eating it up. People couldn't believe Sonic was clowning on himself. Normies wanted to join in. I think this style of social media language has been run into the ground now, but at the time it was revolutionary. The voice, the faces of these companies were acting like us. They were snippy, they wouldn't put on a fake smile. They actually referenced themselves. In reality, this was still just corporate marketing again, but it was cleverly disguised as snarky interns banging out tweets in a dimly lit office. Allegra Frank did a fantastic write-up about Sonic's new online presence, which I'll link below. It's a good article. So, Sonic looked inward, and with that, we got the Twitter takeovers. Yet again, what a move. Fans could finally get these characters to have the same outlandish conversations they would have with their friends. Sonic would quote that meme you saw last weekend. He was real. These have continued annually, and they're still gassing people up around the internet. Sonic was sort of becoming those parody comics we saw growing up. The things he was answering made him feel more domestic than ever, in settings that were once seen as satire. Shadow responded to everyone's obsession with him. Sonic finally explained why he drives cars. Even Knuckles talked about his stupid gloves. Not only that, children's memes were analyzed by the characters in their own ways. It made Sonic feel active in our lives. These takeovers helped solidify that Sonic was real. I really tip my hat to the entire Sonic social media team. I think they were crucial in Sonic's survival and revival in recent years. It seems Katie here has taken over for Aaron's position and has kept things running better than ever. Sega really knows how to pick them. They need a good social media team to handle Sonic. It's essential at this point. I might be running my mouth a bit here because I used to run social medias. That was one of my old jobs. It can be scary managing the image of a franchise, especially with the fanbase Sonic has. The work they've done to garner goodwill over the years is nothing short of impressive. I've even learned that they wrote a majority of the Sonic Murder game, and that's incredible. That seems like a dream come true for these people. I would be very proud if I were them. I really gotta play that and meet Ian Jr. for myself. Pull him out of that picture frame. Look out, Train! Detective Adam is on the case, and they let me carry! You know, through social media, I found out a lot of people care about Sonic stuff that I had no idea about, just no clue. So I prepared an official statement. Hey, look at me. Look me in the eyes. I don't know how long Sonic's hair is, or that he's got green eyes. I thought the blue arms thing was a joke, like you were all pranking me. I don't care what you prefer, it's all fine by me. Just please stop sending pipe bombs to my house. This video's not even over yet, I don't know how you found me. My official stance is... In July of 2022, I went on vacation to Washington, D.C., and halfway through that trip, I got the flu and was stuck in my hotel room for 3 whole days. I caught up on some TNG, had to get the stupid CBS app just to check it out. But while I was there, I saw they had another thing hanging out at the side of the screen. Jim Carrey's Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The first one was alright, but I saw that in the theater. Now I was in my hotel room, with the flu. But I needed to kill some time, so I gave it a watch. And I thought it was really bad. It was way too long. All of Sonic's game lore felt shoved in, and so many scenes felt unnecessary. I thought it was worse than the first, but that wasn't saying much. I coughed up my last lung and went to bed early. But it's 2024 now, and I don't have a fever of 150, so I rewatched them in January. And now my feelings have flipped. Like, they literally swapped. I think the first one is pretty bad, and the second one is better. Most likely due to the larger cast, I had the same desire from the games. I just wanted to see Sonic's friends, and they were nowhere to be seen in the first movie. I even gave a little, oh shit, it's Tails, when he stumbled out of that after-credit scene. I'm less grumpy now, and less about to die. I think I'd rewatch the second again for these 3. Well, these 4. As I said before, I'm trying not to put this beside Citizen Kane, and instead just enjoy the ride. And when I turn off my hypercritical mind, I notice I have a lot more fun. I should really do that more in real life. Sonic was still that side thing for me. It really was for like the past 10 years. But we were entering a new era now, and this one would be big. Time marches onward. Another big jump. Another huge gap for Sonic fans. God, you poor guys weren't getting anything for a while, were you? For 5 years, all you got was like a racing game. Hopping in and out was probably my best decision from 2014 onward. Things really seemed to slow down, but they sure picked up when I stepped back into the Sonic hole, this time in 2023, and probably in a way a lot of people are not expecting. Alright, get it out of your star system. Look, I like Bethesda games. I wouldn't be talking about them for 7 hours if I didn't.
Didn't I get the fist of a robot put up my asshole?
My Starfield thoughts would need an entire video on its own, so I ain't gonna stuff them in here. God, I think this might be more embarrassing than my Sonic addiction. I found myself enjoying the mundane planet scanning and exploration in Starfield, but the soundtrack was becoming repetitive. So, I muted the audio, loaded up Spotify, and put on some tunes. I cycled through playlists as I seared every rock I could find. And then I stumbled onto this one. Sonic. I made this thing in 2016. It was old. I hit shuffle on that noise bomb, and soon the flashbacks came rushing back into me. These songs were great. And oh my god, they finally put Mania on here. Into the grinder with you, little man. For like the next 3 months, this was my go-to playlist. It morphed into my driving playlist and my work playlist. I was addicted to these songs again. And as each song played, I started to remember the animations I envisioned with them. The fight scenes I had choreographed in my head when I made my silly Sonic AU years and years ago. That creative spark that ignited me to write with reckless abandon. With no shame. Well, with a lot of shame, but I did it anyways. But it was hard to watch these brain movies without any clear characters. I always saw them as silhouettes in my AU. I didn't know what anyone looked like. Robots, sure, but like, what kind? Did the Tails one have tails? No, he didn't. Did the Knuckles one have, well, knuckles? I figured to do myself a favor, I try to hammer out some sort of design. Why not? I got a tablet. It couldn't hurt just to sketch something out. And so, on October 4th, 2023, I plugged in my shitty Wacom tablet from 2008 that I'm still using at this very second to make every picture in this video, and started drawing again. I had not drawn for 10 years. Maybe for work, but never for fun. And these songs got me back into it. These Sonic songs. Sonic got me back into drawing. Sonic was making me draw my Sonic OC. Oh my god, what are you doing? Oh no, we're back. I really was tired of these silhouettes in my head and figured, okay, real quick, let's just try and draw them. And after not drawing for 10 whole years, it took some attempts. But eventually, I settled on something. I should also say that things got switched around a bit. Like a lot. I didn't have the original document, so I decided to rewrite almost everything in my head. The old story felt a bit too stale, but the bones were all strong and healthy. And fun. Metropolis stayed. Free Will stayed. But the cast got flipped around a bit, especially their names. I wanted it to be way more silly. Scrap Metal became Spencer Raleigh Moko, an aspiring hero trying to make it through the big city. I'm crying right now. Metal Tails became Rocky Omaha, a disgruntled vigilante who joins forces with the only person she met who gave a damn. Metal Knuckles became Bishop Tango Lux, and I'm never changing that name. A cowboy, which I've always wanted ever since the OVA. He came to Metropolis a singer, lived as a prize fighter, you know, because the Knuckles, and lost it all in front of the world. Now he busks on the sidewalk and lives in his car. Ugh, gross. Metal Amy would become Metropolis's hottest star, baby, Lily Bellhart. The main attraction on Robot SNL, a jack of all trades, and also a war machine in hiding, don't tell anyone. Paid for by shareholders and activated at the worst time possible. Like on live TV. Project Lilybell is a bust now, so she pals around with the gang, trying to repair her reputation. Finally, our boy Gamma became our girl Eden. Because of the E, I didn't try too hard on that one. But I did design her as a broken down shell of a weapon, struggling to live with her continued existence. Ripped apart, pieced together, defective, and fragmented. Oh, god damn it! Yeah, I figured out about Scrapnik Island as I was making this video, but I'm keeping my broken girl. We'll figure something out. I loved my main cast now. They made me laugh. I put Spencer in an apartment, gave him an allowance, crashed Rocky on his couch, Lux under the table when he's not sleeping in his car. They would plot out villain takedowns in the kitchen, chill at the diner for lunch. I even made Blaze a waitress. Bet you haven't seen that one before. Oh, god damn it, whatever. Yeah, angry lady with sharp teeth, Adam. Real original. I'm figuring things out here, okay? And that's the best part. Metropolis would be a mess. Just a scattered storyline, filled in whenever I wanted. I want it to be my practice zone, for me to try out shot design, animation, writing, pacing, even voice acting. Of course I'm playing Spencer. Where do you think I got this design from? I've been drawing it for the past 7 months. I probably do need voice actors, though. I'm running out of voice filters to sneak on by with. If you think you can play Rocky, then scream into this bucket. I'll never find it. Don't worry, I won't clog the channel with my Sonic OCs. I do respect you a little bit. Instead, I made a separate channel, which I linked below. I've got 2 scenes out right now, and I hope to throw some more out there every now and then. Here's some quick snippets. Star Sonic. Okay. Roll. Powered up. Jumps down. Also, we don't need to go into that.
Good.
Hey, you're alive! I haven't done a series in a long time, and this one being just a silly outlet for fun made it great. Honestly, I think it being Sonic related was just an excuse for me to go hog wild again. You don't really need Sonic characters in this thing. Sometimes designing a world from scratch can get a little daunting, but couching it in something that you know and love, and also maybe have been thinking about for the last 7 months, is an easy way to get yourself going. If you're into storytelling, try it out. Make some characters, give them a world. It can be great practice for so many things. Finishing that first scene of Metropolis felt like I was following through on a promise I made to myself as a kid. It might not be animated well or colored, but it's there, Tiny Atom. This one's for you. Me. Ultimately, I am not putting this section in to say check out my Sonic AU because it's good. What I'm trying to say is, even if it's bad and cringy, which it is, it's still important to have a creative outlet. This could very well stop here. It might not ever continue, but it did its job. I got that relief and that completed satisfaction. I made that little dream I had as a kid into reality. And that is way more important than I thought it was. Remember, make art for yourself first, others second. Alright, enough of this. Let's keep going. So now I was coming back online to check on Sonic, see what you guys have been up to. And I saw a lot of great things. And one in particular I want to comment on right now, but it needs some introduction. So let's start with this. Full disclosure, I've barely read any of these, but I do want to talk about them. As I said before, the Archie comics always seemed so dense, so they were kind of a blind spot for me. And then they made new comics! Idea and Design Works LLC is here to say, looks like you played the games, bucko, come on in. Price of admission? Just Sonic Forces. Ugh, what a price to pay. This stuff seemed easier since it was recent. Plus, all those new characters that kept showing up and stuff were from here. I was honestly just gonna avoid these comics until I kept seeing them show up in my YouTube feed. I don't even know why, I was just trying to watch Shadow take off his pants. But you know how YouTube recommendations go. One day it's Sonic Heroes Mystic Mansion A-Rank, and the next it's
Vivian Reed, voice actress, Surge the Tenrec, IDW issue 56 voice dub.
What? Huh? What? I don't know. What? Someone's looking a little angry. I clicked on the link and Jesus Christ, she's murdering Sonic! What is happening? What the hell's going on in these comics? Is this how he died in the dating simulator? Also, who is drawing these things? I'm liking the way they look. I was not excited to start from chapter 1 just to learn about Queen Mountain Dew, but this felt like it was from something. All a part of Mario Kart Gamer Dude's IDW Sonic dub. Well, I better find this Mario Kart Gamer Dude and check out what he's done to issue 56. And now we should probably deviate even further into something I discovered. I'm sure this is nothing new in the community, or like any community, but I only really noticed it now, so it's getting a section. Folks out there have been dubbing the comics, and they're pretty damn good. Seriously, some of you out there have a very convincing Griffith voice. I didn't even think that was possible. Well, I figured a fun way to experience the IDW craze would be to listen to them. I tried to find the elusive issue 56 and spotted it in a multi-staged movie, Thunderstorm. 33 minutes! Yikes! She better start choking Sonic in the first 5 seconds or I'm out of here. Whoa. Epilepsy warning. You promise? Oh boy, I think we're about to go even deeper! You know, I actually shrunk this video down so I could listen to it while I worked on something else. Turns out I was supposed to listen to it with my eyeballs. This thing was pretty dynamic. It moved, it flowed, it tweened between different panels. By God, Mario Kart Gamer Dude made it sparkle, he did, with quick edits and flashy effects that kept me looking. Mario Kart Gamer Dude, you rascal! Quit dangling those keys, I gotta work! Admittedly, I have not seen many comic dubs, so I might not have a bit of a reference, but I thought this thing was pretty awesome. It was a fantastic intro to Surge, and it didn't waste any time throwing me into the action. Looking back, I think this was the best possible way to finally overcome my comic apprehension. If it started with paragraphs and backstory, I would have had Archie flashbacks, like I didn't do my homework or something. But since these issues were so sick, it made me want to retroactively go back and learn what Surge's deal was. And I did. And now I have to talk about that.
You're gonna fry! You don't get it! You can't run away! Show me what you got! Knock your teeth in! Getting a beat down! Trying to run!
Congratulations, Surge. You are the only character to crack into my game's only cast. Surge the Tenrec. Yeah, I don't know what that is either, but she's a new bad guy who wants to kill Sonic, if you can believe it. She's a brainwashed super soldier cyborg who wants to, really kill Sonic, but she doesn't know why, and that kind of freaks her out. There's a whole plan set out for Surge. A duck figures it out. It's all pretty exciting, but I want to talk more about her character, not her lore. This dude felt fresh to me. We haven't had a true punk character in a while. I mean, Sonic is inherently punk, but he's a good-natured punk. Other detractors have been naively punk, or theatrical punk, but none to me have ever been like a total dick. And that's what Surge is. She is just so mean to everyone. Sometimes it's fun to hate things. She gets it. I mean, she's had a tough life. I get it. But man, oh man, does she lay it on thick to everyone. Even her pseudo-tails can't catch a break. But there's some hope and wish fulfillment breaking through her psyche. She wants to take power over her trauma. And remember, folks, trauma makes you interesting. Surge figures out she was brainwashed, but doesn't switch sides. Oh no. She now works for herself, and plans to kill everyone around her for putting her in this position. Even Sonic the Hedgehog. Even Tails. You can't do that. That twist was a relief. They could have just extended that brainwashing bit forever, but they wrapped it up and moved on. She even pretended to be hypnotized just to screw people over. It's fantastic. High five, Surge. We understand her baggage, so deep down we kinda root for her, and those are the best villains. She takes advantage of the goodiness of the Sonic heroes in a way I haven't seen before. It's fun to watch a character prey on those cheery mascot instincts that are so instilled within our protags. Like, will Sonic just snap at some point and end up strangling Surge? Ultimately, that's why I love Surge. She pushes Sonic like never before. What if you can't save everyone? What if they don't want to be saved by you, Mr. Hedgehog? What if they just kept coming? What if they start schmoozing in on your friends? What if you know that they're a threat, but you can't say that because you gotta give everyone a chance?
Well, do you? If she really was gone, wouldn't that make everything easier?
Let's hope she never meets Shadow, because his answer to that is absolutely. She's just cool. Remember when I said the Chaotix were cool because they could be indifferent to the larger stakes at hand? Well, Surge is straight up antagonistic to the larger stakes. I feel like she'd blow herself up just to see Sonic lose, in a whole different adventure, and that makes her a fun read. Or watch. Plus, she's rendered now, and in a sick-ass pose, too. Can't wait for her to show up in Frontiers 2 and walk off a cliff. Also, yes, I know about Scourge. He was one of the Archie boys I actually did enjoy. I wanted him in the games more than anything. But now he's been itemized by the federal court, so we have to abandon all hope. In another timeline, I'm a Scourge stan, trust me. But let's jump back to Mario Kart Gamer Dude's very own Thunderstorm, because someone among us voices Surge, and I think she does a pretty damn good job. Vivian Reed got me addicted to Thunder, thanks a lot. I was worried the performances in these comic dubs would be like Batman voice into a laptop microphone. But Vivian was clear, and loud. When she screamed, she really screamed. Not the don't wake up mom scream. The ah kind of thing. I still do the don't wake up mom scream, I can't help it. There's something about her Surge that I just like. I feel like she's taunting everyone in every line. It's great. But there were others that were amazing, and good thing too, because they were all the new guys. Dark Cloud VA is Kitsunami, a wet little Tails who plays second banana to all of Surge's shenanigans. This guy is a bit of a squirt, but still a little hopeful and menacing. I think Dark Cloud VA captured that really well, but I've heard him kill it as Kitsunami and other stuff, so I know he's got it. Finally, the duck. I gotta talk about the duck, man. Sword T40 as Dr. Starline, the evil duck mastermind who is brainwashing Surge and Kit. Bro, I thought this guy was like a tenured performer or something. His voice was smooth. He sounded almost exactly how I pictured this duck sounding. Like to a T. Go back and listen to stuff he was in, because he nails the sinister cadence really well. Now whenever I read anything with these characters, I hear it in their voices. I can't get it out of my head. It won't come out. I blame you, Mario Kart Gamer Dude. Also cutting in to say Egg Paladin also did half the edits here too. These two really know their stuff. True geniuses. Okay, I would not be surprised if you see these guys in bigger stuff down the line. This is only the beginning for Team Imposters. Hell, everyone in the dub was pretty darn great. Mario Kart Gamer Dude, you know how to assemble a crew, don't you? The Eggman sounds like his own thing. The Tails nails that mini boy charm. I don't even know what this thing is, but it sounds right. Curse you, Mario Kart Gamer Dude, you've conducted a symphony of angels and demons to overwrite my mind. How does one capture that which I don't already know? How does one inject theatrics into a simple flat-page comic strip? How does that guy sound so much like Jason Griffin? It isn't natural. Alright, I talked about this a bunch. Why? Well, 1, I liked it, but 2, it's a great example of the co-creative mindset of this fandom. It seems like everyone here was pulled from different stuff. Like, Sonic's got 1 million views over here, and Tails is on Twitch. But they all came together to give it their all on this project. They all did it because they wanted to. I don't know, maybe it was just a job to some of them, but even so, Mario Kart Gamer Dude's initial vision was realized by a bunch of people outside of Sega, outside of IDW. It gave credence to how a lot of fans interpreted this comic, and clearly it got some fans because I'm one of them. That's why I use his full name. This isn't MKGD, it's Mario Kart Gamer Dude. Alright, zooming back out to IDW as a whole. Even though I've barely scratched the surface, I really liked what I read here. I think after this video, this might be one of the first Sonic things I go back and look at. I even heard there's like a metal zombie arc or something, and that's sick. Also, just want to quickly commend the art on these two, because they helped keep me glued in. Adam Bryce Thomas, hey, nice name, does some really detailed stuff in these Surge issues. I like how he captured a lot of these intense moments. Look at the scrunching. We got a lot of scrunching going on here, people. Also, by the way, I checked his Twitter, and the dude wrote a fan comic about Shadow and some coffee. I didn't know they let you do that. That you can, like, make your own fan comics from the company work that you're technically doing right now? That's really cool. Also, apparently, it's the first thing he's ever written, and it's very good. I'll link it below. I would not be surprised if you see this dude writing some issues eventually. Shouts out to another Adam. You got this. But I do want to extend this to the entire staff, because these issues really are group projects. Everyone is firing on all cylinders here, with the writing, the coloring, the lettering. I know nothing about comics, so I had to look that one up. And I get the sense that all these people were Sonic fans to begin with. You couldn't have a better cast of people handling your IP. Imagine if you did that with a game. That could be one of the greatest games of all time. Wouldn't you say? I've only really read the stuff with the Starline Squad, and I stopped there. I'm holding myself off. I feel like I should probably start from the beginning, now that I've gotten a fun taste of the future. After going through this, I think to get myself into Archie, I should probably just read, like, the sickest fight they have. And they got over 2 kajillion issues, so you know they got something good in there. Alright, I'll shut up about this, and let's move on. Now that I was back into Sonic again, I had some catching up to do. Another mega collection, and I still haven't touched CD. What am I doing to myself? They ripped the old XBLA ports away before I could collect them all, but I still got 2. And Knuckles. And CD? What are you doing here? Anywho, I was itching for that classic Sonic again. Those Mania tracks were bouncing around in my noggin. And they just shoveled the Game Gears on this one, so let's do it. And did it, I dang did. Yet again, I went through 1, 2, and then stopped at 3. These have all been remade in the Retro engine, so they feel pretty great to me. But what do I know? I have holes in my brain. It is depressing that some of those jams from Sonic 3 had to be removed. Maybe that's why I gave up. But otherwise, everything is there. I don't have any real opinion on Sonic Origins. It's just sort of there for me if I need to replay these games again. And I've already talked about them so much, I can't say anything here. Want to hear me praise Sonic 2 again? Didn't think so. But if we're returning, then we better pay our old friend a visit. Folks, you can't escape it. I loaded it up again because I was curious. Those soundtracks really did it to me. But as I was fooling around inside, I remembered my previous conquest, my attempt for all 130 emblems. I'm older now, wiser, maybe it's possible. I hopped back in. I was actually pretty close, only a couple things evaded me. Like those awful tornado sections, or the stupid Chow races. I mean, great, they're great. For the action stages, I was actually only missing Sonic's emblems, and dare I say, yet again, I came to appreciate adventure even more. So there's playing these games, and then there's playing these games. I had to look up guides because my personal attempts weren't cutting it. I took advantage of Sonic's spin dash jump, a move that can carry you through levels if you know where you're looking, or landing. You have to cut some of these times so close. I had to start skipping entire sections of levels. And I wound up going to more places that I had no clue about. Like, I didn't know you can go up here. Or here. I just followed the path, but scooting through different routes got me to see these levels in a whole new light. You don't just race through them. You use them to cut corners and go faster. You're supposed to replay and explore. Oh my god, this is what they wanted me to do the whole time. Only took me 20 years to realize it. Sorry, everyone. Regardless, I got my 130. Yes! The DX upgrade brought more challenges to the scene. And Metal Sonic. Well, we gotta see Metal Sonic. Let's keep going. There's missions now too. You gotta do little things in the hub world and action stages, with each character. Now, I'm only speaking to a very small subset here, the 5 of you who actually beat all the missions. But I'm gonna put up 2 numbers on the screen. Please don't scream. These are the numbers for 2 missions in particular. The other 58 are a cakewalk, but these 2 are downright dirty. For the uninitiated, both these take place during the ice cap snowboarding section. For 53, you gotta hit 13 flags in a row, located at the end of the stage, when you're going 5,000 miles per hour. And these are not in a line, you gotta slalom. Look how fast you're going, these things are like strands of hair, they are impossible to nail. And on top of all that, you still have to beat the fastest thing alive. Position yourself for the last 13 while Sonic speeds past you and throw the boy into the avalanche again. But, whatever with that one. 54 doesn't even feel possible. Did they test this? You gotta make your way through the entirety of Ice Cap, reach the stupid snowboard section, and nail 3 perfect jumps in a row with precise timing. All you gotta do is hit A right at the end of the ramp. I swear to God I am! Why won't Sonic go up? People have resorted to glitching through the map to complete this one. It's so unfair. I literally just put on a podcast and sped through for hours, hoping one of these random times I would nail the jump. And eventually I did. How? I don't know, man, I just hit A. Anyways, I was still happy to complete that one. Alright, just so I don't hit you with back-to-back adventure praise for the 3rd time, let's divert to a TV show for a second. Alright, I did give this one a shot because it was on Netflix, so let's discuss. From what I gleaned from online discourse, this is the worst thing ever on planet Earth, except for Sonic fans, who kinda like it. And now that I've seen a couple episodes, I kinda liked it too. So a couple of things. This is barely a Sonic TV show, and that's a compliment. Sonic is a series where I appreciate any deviation whatsoever, because I'm so accustomed to it. Risk is welcome, even encouraged, I'd say. Sonic Boom is a comedy, not a dynamic action series with comedic elements. It's all funny focused, and it should be, because the animation is stiff and the character designs are just plain old weird. When these guys try to fight, it's almost laughable, but when they talk, it is genuinely laughable, because the writing is where most of the thought went into. And they are doing the best with what they got. I think you can swap out the setting and characters here, and the show could still hold itself up. There must be conflict, I won't deny that, but it felt like the fight scenes were there because, well, it's Sonic. He's gotta fight something. I would have been perfectly fine with the show if they all just sat around the bungalow and got into shenanigans. The characterizations of the main cast were all sorta ratcheted up in specific directions to keep things interesting, like you would find on a sitcom. There's even a new face here, and alright, we got a little time. We can fit her in.
Evil government plot! I take this snail with me. Who's paranoid now? He can't kill me. Kill it with fire! I knew it! I can't take this anymore!
Government-mandated healthcare.
Styx, schizophrenic badger from Brooklyn? I think that works. She is a feral animal, now tamed by civilization. And the Sonic heroes. Styx is interesting because she digs into that often overlooked angle of Sonic and his hedgehogs. Were these like animals? Like before? Did Sonic have to learn to walk and talk? Styx certainly suggests so. She was a literal wild animal beforehand. Like if we put Styx in Station Square, would the laws of Sonic reality break it? Okay, from what I can understand, she was feral the same way we could be feral. I don't think she was like literal animal mode, rather she grew up in the woods and went a little crazy, which, you know, relatable. Styx is pretty funny. No one's been like this crazy in the franchise before. I mean, there's like diabolical crazy, but Styx is like crazy crazy. And that confident skepticism in everything can lead to great moments on the show, especially when she's proven right. She apparently got a name drop in Frontiers, and I really wonder if they'll try to put her back in the mainline games. All the other cast had personalities that we already knew within the main games, but Styx is from sitcom world. She would have to be adapted a bit to fit into something like Frontiers or Forces. I hope they give it a shot though, and they keep Nika Futterman on as the VA, because that is a voice I would not want to lose. Speaking of voices, let's talk a bit more about that. From the brief VA panels that I've watched online, it seems like this was their favorite thing to work on in the entire franchise. They had the most fun, freedom, and memories on this thing. I'm sure there were Sega mandates, but with the self-reflection this series has, they were really let loose to clown on, well, themselves. The show could get them all in a room together, and when you're acting on an animated sitcom, that seems like a dream come true. Mike Pollock, the voice of Eggman, says that this was his favorite incarnation of Eggman to play, and I can clearly see why. He has such a large role in this thing, and they make Eggman do so much. This is like the most range Eggman's ever had. He's acting his butt off here. and even playing other characters. Almost all the VAs play other characters. It kind of reminds me of like the Simpsons cast. I have to imagine jumping from this to Frontiers was like tonal whiplash for these guys. But they're all great actors, they know what they're doing. However, I can see the longing for Boom's silliness and freedom in their eyes. Maybe they'll let you go wild eventually, but for now, let's drop that register and talk about our feelings. So, all in all, I thought this show was, at best, pretty darn funny, and at worst, stunted by outside forces. I would blame development assets and timelines for that, not the writing or the performances. These are the only episodes I watched, and also focused on some episodes that people claimed were the best, or the ones that Six was in. Since we brought up voice actors, let's go into that too, because in the Sonic world, that's important.
Aw, yeah! It's over, Egghead!
Remember, kids.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
It's no use, take that!
I'm Shadow.
Why do you want to go to Mexico so bad?
I can't think of a more unintentionally monumental occupation than signing on to be a Sonic voice actor. I've never seen this before. It's not the admiration I'm talking about, that's expected. It's the debates. The eternal infighting. This is one of those things you just have to have a stance on. It's crazy. I'm not saying that you can't have preferences. I think that's totally fine. I'm talking about the heavy scrutiny of these performances in this fandom. Every character, every era needs your assessment. Who gets it? Who ruins the character? But almost all these actors for this franchise are incredibly gracious and kind towards the fanbase. I can easily see this as being too much for people, but they're very receptive to all the crazy questions and voice requests at every panel. Not only that, they really participate and become an active part of the community, lending their voices to fan projects or making appearances for podcasts and news channels. It's very heartwarming to see them interact with Sonic fans, and I do hope they realize that they truly impacted the lives of many children growing up. They do take on the burden of being these childhood heroes from the writers and the execs. It really lands on them most of the time. You can tell when they put on the voice, people just light up. For a brief second, their childhood hero is right back in front of them. I've never met any of these guys personally, but just from the excited, shaky cell phone videos, they seem like great people. Take, for instance, Jason Griffith. When I was growing up, the internet was telling me that this guy was the worst thing to happen to Sonic. Truthfully, I was the kid who didn't even realize the voice had changed. Sonic was always just Sonic to me. If you told me back then that kids would grow up to adore this guy, I'd think you were crazy. I just saw so much hate, it didn't seem possible. Like, I would have thought someone imitating his performance would have been for parody, but these days, it's out of respect. This dude is Sonic for so many people, and that's amazing. Kids grew up with this voice, same way people grew up with Drummond, and people growing up with Roger now. It just goes to show that there is a portion of the Sonic audience that is just quietly enjoying the franchise. They haven't experienced the online debates yet, all they know is how cool Sonic is, and they're loving it. Also, quick shout out to Pete Capella too, the original actor for Silver. This is another one of those hide your face in shame characters in my brain. The new guy from Sonic 06 that everyone clowned on. But people out there grew up with Silver. They learned to love him. I sure did. I mean, look at me. And Pete is more than happy to be Silver for people. In interviews and panels, he comes off as very genuine and leans into the quirky lines he had to give in 2006. Almost all of them do this. These memes make people so happy these days, and they never hesitate to make a fan's day by shouting one off. It's great. Okay, this one will be like 5 seconds, because I feel like I gotta mention it. Whoever Scourge LDK is, they made a chill Sonic music playlist that's nearly 9 hours long. And I listen to it all the time. Even downloaded it just in case Scourge gets erased like his real-life counterpart. From what I can tell, Unleashed has a lot of good music in it. Links below. Okay, next. Man, these Sonic games can get real cheap sometimes. I picked this up for like 5 cents and gave it a whirl. Out of all the racing games, I might give this one another shot, because it's so Sonic-centric, and they do be talking to each other. I raced a bit, as Sonic, obviously, and I won, obviously, and thought it was pretty neat. What I think is really neat is they recorded lines for every character, bad-mouthing the others. It kind of reminds me of those TF2 domination lines. These guys can get pretty rough with each other. I mean, Silver tells Omega to literally end himself. That's pretty sick, Silver. Nice. I also picked up the first Sega All-Stars Racing, since it's gonna be digitally dead forever in a couple months. Played as the one Metal Sonic, felt the sequel was better. What a surprise. Moving on. I should probably mention this too. Since we're dropping everything, I also picked this up digitally for cheap, because I wanted to see Silver ride a horse. I played it for like 5 seconds and never touched it again. Moving on. This is up there with Unleashed. I really want to go through this. At least I actually started this one. Oh god, I'm 2 years too late. All the good Breath of the Wild jokes are taken. I didn't even play that game either. Ugh! Open World Sonic. Seemed like a no-brainer, and a change everyone was down for. I still think the floating rails and bounce pads are a bit silly, but the actual gameplay here is pretty fun. I don't know if it's as high-octane as the previous ones, but I enjoy boosting around. With a soundtrack playlist, look at you, Frontiers! Wise choice, that's a Generations move right there. And I love it. I hear this game is a lot more somber than the previous ones. Lots of piano, lots of rain. That's what interests me the most here, even more than the gameplay. I want to know the story. I've only started the first island with Amy, but I dug what was going on here. These guys gotta talk to each other more. I want to hear what they gotta say. Looks like some Tails and Knuckles lore awaits me in my future. Maybe he'll finally take off his gloves. Ooh. Just you wait, Frontiers. I'm coming. And I'm coming. I'm also coming back to SA2, because like Adventure 1, I'm finally gonna get all those emblems. Alright, this was way harder than I thought. I have since given up, but I do plan to return one day, and slap that Alpha Rad thumbnail on my resume. I mainly spent my time with the Sonic and Shadow stages again. I wanted to learn them the same way I did with SA1. I had no idea you can keep going up on that rocket in Middle Harbor, or that if you jump off at the end of a rail, you get style points? I barely managed to get A's on those beginning levels. Once we enter space without a helmet, I start choking over and over again. How are you supposed to hit these rails and go fast? Ugh. I ended up watching speedruns to try and teach myself some new tricks, but these skills are beyond me. One day, SA2, one day, I see the crest of those green hills on my horizon. You know what I also see? A new Sonic TV show on Netflix. And I actually finished this one. Hey, I actually thought this was pretty good. It's a bit popular right now to beat this thing up, and it deserves a fair share of criticism. But let me sing its praises for a second. This show felt fresh. Being constructed in Canada, and Canada only, was a great box to put them in. Sometimes you need a box, and for Sonic Media, that is rare to come by. Entirely new setting, entirely new voice cast, entirely new story, kinda. We're cashing in on the multiverse craze right now, but at least that's new for Sonic. No, wait, there's no way that's true. Someone hand me the comics. I gotta commend the animation on this one because I think it is stellar. This was the first time in any of the TV shows where the action felt incredibly dynamic. The fight scenes can really stand on their own, especially that train sequence at the start. That could have felt flat, but it was tense and exciting. The movement is so loose and stretchy. You know, animation concepts that can increase the effect of emotion or tone. These guys aren't stiff, they run fast, hit hard, fly out of bounds, it's great. It's also nice to get a Tails, and kinda Shadow-centric show. They did something new here with him. He felt less like a little brother and more like a best friend. There was a bit of distance, and it pairs well when we start focusing in on 9 as a character specifically. Also, this is like the gayest I've ever seen Sonic and Shadow before. They are more than pals in this one. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If people want to read into it, then let them have their fun, I say. The Eggmen are a bit scattered. I hate the baby. I love the New Age Samurai. They can get a little overwhelming sometimes, alongside every other counterpart from every other reality. Meeting them is effective when we solo in on their worlds only. Seeing them all together at the end made me a bit cross-eyed. I forgot who acted like who. And hats off to all the voice actors. Everything felt very appropriate for the characters. Shadow feels more certain and stoic. Tails is pretty defensive in this one. Rouge works super well here. And that Sonic performance. Sonic voice actors. Poor guys gotta answer to the entire internet. But this dude did a great job. Hats off all around. I watched this when both seasons 1 and 2 were out, which was a good stopping point. I can't imagine the gap between 1 and 2 was easy. That's an awkward place to hold. But I was hyped to see it climax in January. Did it stick the landing? Kinda. You might have seen a lot of this coming, and they really draw out that final battle, but some arcs get wrapped up, the fights are still fun, and Shadow finally gets to cradle Sonic in his gentle hands. All in all, this has been my favorite Sonic TV show I've seen. It's also the only one I've ever finished, all the way through. I'm glad it didn't get too stuck in the games. It gave off its own interpretations of characters, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. Bravo. With Sonic Prime and Sonic Boom, you got a pretty solid Sonic foundation for a kid to lose himself in. Knuckles is on the way too. I hope that's good. We shall see, ladies and gentlemen. We shall see. The most recent release, at least before we get that saucy new Generations remaster. And I wasn't loving it. Yet again, I don't think it's bad, it just might not be for me. I could be getting classic Sonic fatigue at this point. I much prefer the sprites than the current 3D renders. Classic Sonic looks much better flat. I only really sped through these levels as Sonic, although I'm sure there's much more variation between the other characters. Emerald powers are neat though. Love using that Sonic duplication trick when fighting bosses. Those guys are dying, right? Where do they go? I haven't felt compelled to return to it. There's other Sonics in my backlog that I'd rather visit. Just sit tight, superstars. I'll get around to you. Next up is... whoa. That's all of them. Every Sonic game and iteration I've played throughout my entire life. Laid bare for the masses to judge. How'd I do? So, after writing this 37,000 word document in like one coffee-fueled week, I have some gosh darn takeaways. So, let's go through them. Why do people like Sonic so much? Well, if you'll allow me to get hyper-analytical here, I'd narrow it down to 3 things. 1. He will always be perceived as cool. I don't mean like, if you don't think he's cool, something's wrong with you. I mean, that is his main function. He had to wow children. Now, this can be a death sentence for many characters, but Sonic has had longevity. I really think that jump to adventure sealed the deal for Sonic forever. They were able to transition from the radical, sick, 90s fun to the harder, alternative edge of the 2000s. If we didn't get these redesigns, I don't think we would have heard from him ever again. And because of his eternal nature, this aspect of him has become accepted by now. Even if you think he's lame, you know he's trying to be cool, and that he's appealing to someone, most likely younger than you. Number 2. Sonic's cast is modern and domestic. Sure, Sonic runs through fields and goes on crazy adventures, but ever since they put him in that city, I think everyone's mind was let loose. Not only is Sonic a hero, but he's just a guy, like you or me. He eats our food, drives our cars, talks to us humans. Because of this, I think he fits in any setting. Like, it wouldn't be strange if Sonic and Amy were in a school, or if Silver and Shadow were office workers. It all works for us because we've seen them in that environment. It also helps that Sega has put him in 1,000 different settings. In cities, space, racetracks, medieval ages, time travel, multiverse, sitcom, Murder on the Orient Express. He's been everywhere. There's no restraint, and for a community that loves to explore the world of Sonic and tell its own stories, that permission is everything. Number 3, he appeals to all ages. I think he definitely focuses on a young crowd, and he should. Sonic belongs to the kids. I won't have it any other way. And just to clarify so people don't think I'm honestly belittling anyone, I mean Sonic should always be inclusive of a younger audience. A majority of Sonic fans are probably older than I think, but if he only catered to an adult crowd, I think Sonic would lose his footing. It's not that I think it's only for kids, it's that I think it shouldn't be only for adults. Sonic should be for everyone, and I would never want a kid to miss out on that. But since Sonic made such an impression on us at a young age, we will always see a glimmer of him when we think of cool. He might not be your cool, but he's next to the word. I don't know if there's a lot of people who necessarily became Sonic fans as adults, but I could see it happening. It's fun to jump into a series that's been all over the place. And even if he's not from your nostalgia, you understand the appeal of Sonic. I think if you got a bunch of 40-year-old dudes drunk and made them play Shadow the Hedgehog, they'd have a great time. He can be loved both ironically and earnestly. He's for everyone. But why do I like Sonic? Again, 3 things. Number 1, the characters. I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't think my favorite game of all time is Sonic, or any Sonic. Sonic 2 might crack my top 20, maybe. Gun to my head, I'd tell you that a lot of these games are just bad. I can have fun with a bad game, but so many of these titles are riddled with glitches, innocuous storylines, terrible design implementation, and the cheesiest dialogue known to mankind. Critically, I don't think these games hold up. If you made me defend it against other well-crafted titles, I'd feel a little embarrassed. But I don't think my love for Sonic stems from the games. It comes from the everything around them. I like Sonic and his friends. I like when they hang out and talk to each other. It might not be Shakespearean prose, but it makes me happy. I bought Sonic Forces just because I wanted to see some cutscenes with Tails and Shadow again. That's it. They're good-natured, but they don't shy away from dramatics. Things can get pretty crazy in these games. They have a pretty moldable spirit that can be stretched and pooled in things like the comics and TV shows. I don't watch those for this. I watch it for them. Any interpretation. So it's my main objective here. It trumps even gameplay. I will buy games to see these guys goof around, because they hold such a special place in my heart. I love these guys. Number 2, he reminds me of my creative youth. Sonic got me drawing again. Sonic made me creative. No one told me to do it. It wasn't to further some life goal. It was just to enjoy myself. I did this a lot when I was younger. I was in Tumblr groups and fandoms. I'd hang out in Skype calls and we'd chat about our favorite aspects of franchises as we pumped out creative work for free to our community. I cringed back at that time in college, but now I really appreciate that I put myself out there and met so many great people. I had online friends teach me art techniques that I still use to this day. I mean, I might not be drawing any of this if it wasn't for them. Mike, Lucas, Alana, Marcus, and the rest of you. If you're out there, I hope you're doing well, and thanks for the good times. I actually still talk to Mike. He knows that I love him. Honestly, I should be thanking everyone who talked to me over Skype. I was in good spirits back then, and they were responsible for that. Number 3, the sincerity of the community. Sonic exists in a sort of cringy place. For all of history now, his timeline is just way too bungled with all these games. Some of them are amazing, and some of them are huge laughingstocks. So, when people show their appreciation for Sonic, I know they love it. 'Cause they mean it! The Sonic community is enthusiastic and excitable. These aspects can teeter on some dangerous territories, and they definitely have in the past. But I don't think that should wash away any current support for the franchise. I like seeing people get so excited with the Hedgehog. They create some amazing things, and at such young ages too. Sonic really is one of those jumping off points for creative minds. Way back when, I had stopped all the drawing because I thought it was a waste of time. But I realize now how important it really is. You need some sort of creative outlet, a way to express yourself. And fan communities are fantastic places to meet like-minded people who want to do just that too. Now, take that with a grain of salt. The internet is a big place filled with question marks, but I guarantee you, your friends are out there. Don't be afraid to share yourself. You'd be surprised how many people are looking to do the same thing. Oh hey, look! Some questions from the audience. Okay. Yes, you. Hey, why didn't you bring up this? I didn't know! Or maybe I heard of it but never interacted with it. Remember, this was just a personal timeline of my life with Sonic, not a full series or fandom analysis. And as far as I can tell, my life is still going, so I'm always ready to experience more aspects of the Hedgehog. Please do let me know what or who I should be checking out. I'll be making a list. Yeah, you? Hey, I hate you because of your opinions. I know. I'm just including this because ultimately someone will be mad, and I don't want them to think that I hate them back. You can still hate me, I can't stop that. But I want you to know that I'm not here to silence you. You can love whatever you want. Just please don't get mad. And stop sending pipe bombs to my house. Stepping back a bit, that's the difficult thing most people have when trying to analyze Sonic on the internet. Anyone who's made a Sonic video probably understands this. When a franchise is this large and this a part of your life, it can easily become part of your identity, and opinions can become personal really quick. Criticisms on this franchise can feel like judgments on our own lives, which is almost never the intention of the critic. It understandably can be difficult to separate the two. And when it comes to praising certain games over others, try and remember that just because I love my thing, doesn't mean I hate your thing. And if I hate something within Sonic, that doesn't mean I hate you. I'm almost 30, I don't have the energy to be angry at you. I really mean that. I'd like to think that if two passionate people share their interests, they can learn to love both things instead of argue their positions indefinitely. But I also want world peace and $1 billion, so that's just reality. Oh well. Yeah, you were right over there. Can we actually wrap this up? I gotta pick up my daughter from soccer practice. Yeah, let's get this over with. Well, here we are. 5 to 27, roughly 20 years, give or take, of Sonic appreciation. And I don't want it to stop. Just making this video has spurred me to jump back into the Sonic hole again. I want to play those games I skipped. Unleashed first, probably. I want to go fast. But I can confidently say that throughout all his appearances, Sonic has remained cool. My cool? Well, that's impossible, because that's not how cool works. Cool evolves, as does Sonic. He will continue to warp, shift into a Gen Alpha superstar, and beyond. I'm excited to see where he goes, and that he will continue to astound kids in complete awe, to inspire them to create their own OCs, storylines, and adventures. See, that's what cool does to you. It makes you want to be cool. It fast-tracks your positive self-image. Cool is the next step. It's the outlier, the blueprint for your own special you. I don't know why I said that so mean. Everyone needs a little cool in their lives, something to make you feel unique. Special, warm and fuzzy inside, like you're doing your own thing. And this guy wants you to be cool, to feel cool when you're cresting over that loop or running from that whale. Sonic is the first stop on so many people's cool-volution, and it doesn't surprise me that he imprints on so many people. We're all just waiting for our awakening. We need a hero to look up to follow, to imitate, to learn from. And Sonic will be right there waiting for us, because he was designed to. It's in his blood. It's his life, his essence, his full-time job. Because Sonic is cool. Ugh. Okay, we're done. Whew. I think that's the video. And my god, there's so much stuff I didn't get into. The video essays I love, the creators I only recently discovered. I had to cut out entire sections to make sure I didn't overwhelm you. Sorry, VR chat, we'll get to you next time. There's even games I didn't have time to play. I bought a copy of Riders on my Xbox and had to set it aside. Now that I've concluded this era of Sonic discovery, I think I'm ready to start the next one with these 3 games. With Unleashed being the first, I want to boost around again. I was so happy to make and release this video, because it felt like getting a massive Sonic weight off my back. This thing is self-centered and way too long, but I really had to just stuff all my thoughts into one big package. I'm really excited to watch this video in 10 years, see if my opinions have changed. I think you see so many retrospectives on Sonic because this is such an exciting series to explore. It has so many ups and downs. You can guess what they'll say about each game. You can't wait to see what they say about Sonic 06. I tried not to watch too many, so I didn't accidentally rip anyone off, but now the viewings can continue. Here we go. I'd love to do a sequel to this video, fill in all those gaps. I don't know if anyone's gonna watch this one, it's pretty long, but the Sonic train doesn't stop for this guy. Expect a follow-up when you definitely don't want it. If you somehow made it to the end, hello! Do you even like Sonic? I kinda wrote it for people who didn't know much about him. I hope you learned some things, maybe not too much. If any of you does like Sonic, I'd love to hear your own personal timelines with the Hog. There's so many strange ways we've entered this franchise. I know you have some stories, don't you? God, I did so many damn drawings for this video that my hand is dead. I think this is the most I've done ever in the shortest amount of time. But I'm happy with how they turned out. So many of them make me chuckle and laugh. Tee-hee. Don't do that ever again, Adam. I know this video is kind of filled with the most lukewarm takes and a lot of compliments, not a lot of critique. But I also wanted this video to serve as like a thank you to all the creators who impacted me at such a young age. Anyone I brought up deserves the recognition, at least for me personally. I don't think I could have talked about my Sonic life without them, so they had to go into the video, and I needed to give them a shout out. Thanks, guys! As I said at the start, all the creator links are in the description below, or on a Google Doc, if this thing gets too massive. If you are one of those creators, hello! My commentary all comes from a place of love, I promise. Please, I hope I didn't be mean or hurt anyone's feelings. Also, what the hell are you doing here? It's been nearly 3 hours. Go pick up your daughter from soccer practice. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, Metropolis, my Sonic AU, will probably get some slow updates. Links to that are below too. There's more scenes I want to experiment with and learn, like fighting. Bing, bang, boom. I'm fighting in real life. You can't see it right now. I've written so much for it already. I got like a lot of episodes written. I got all the characters hammered out. I just need to make it. And that's the hard part. We'll get around to it. Anything else? Also, I have a Lego channel. It's called Studless, if you want to see that. I do some pretty crazy things with Lego. Not like put it up my ass or anything. But I do put it in my mouth. Okay, I should probably stop talking now. Bye-bye.
Oh, trick.